morning from a still bright, sunny and hot Adelaide Oval. Welcome to the start of the 2022 Women's Ashes Series between Australia and England. And we kick it off tonight here in Adelaide with the first of 3 T20 internationals over the next 4 days. They'll play Saturday and Sunday afternoon, a day off tomorrow. 2 points for the winner up for grabs, nothing for the loser for these 3 games. Then the test match at Blemenick Oval from January 27, 4 points to the winner, 2 points for a draw. And then on to the 3-game one-day international series, 2 points for the win, none for the loss. We'll get to the toss and Aaron Bryans shortly. We'll have the pre-game ceremony and we'll go to our Master of Ceremonies, Jared Walsh, shortly for the Welcome to Country and the English National Anthem performed by Chloe Bremner. And Oscar Bridges will sing Advance Australia Fair. And the first ball's only about 9 minutes away here. Like I say, it's warm and sunny. It's been the case all day. The big news out of the Australian camp this week was Beth Mooney, the #1 ranked batter in the world in this form of the game, suffering a broken jaw in the nets, getting throwdowns. So she's out. And Grace Harris from Brisbane Heat comes in to make her first appearance for Australia since 2016. So a great moment for the vivacious 28-year-old. Let's go down to the Master of Ceremonies right now, Jared Walsh.
Series between Australia and England. Can you please welcome both teams to the field? England, led by Captain Heather Knight, and Australia, led by Captain Meg Lanning.
Meg Lanning leading the Australian team out.
Joining the teams on the field this evening for the Anthem ceremony are our match officials. Field umpires, Bruce Oxenford and Claire Polisak. Fourth umpire, Eloise Sheridan. Match referee, Steve Bernard. And our third umpire, Mike Graham-Smith.
Heather Knight is England's terrific leader, and she has been for the last 5 or 6 years. She's out in the middle.
Lanning, Heather Knight, and both the Australia and England cricket teams stand together against all forms of prejudice, racism and discrimination. Everybody taking part in this series believes that cricket is a sport for all and must welcome all fans and participants regardless of their identity, background, beliefs or choices. The two teams are united today and throughout this series, and thank you for your support. If able, we now ask you to be upstanding as we are joined by Ghana and Nunnerjerry man Isaac Hannum to conduct the Welcome to Country. Chloe Bremner will then perform the English National Anthem, followed by Oscar Bridges, who will perform the Australian National Anthem.
Nā Māori, nā Nauriga sa kutna wichanam, nā tangi wilta Ghana Nunnerjerry mio, Marto changa Ghana mierna, nā Wankandi Marina putni, nā lako yarta ana, Marina lo tampanthi, nadlo, Ghana yartanga tikanthi, nā chalia. Hi, my name's Isaac, I'm a proud Ghana Nunnerjerry man. It's great to be here today. I'd firstly like to acknowledge my elders, the ones who empower me and encourage me to get up, continue speaking language in my community and continue culture within my community as well. I'd also like to acknowledge my ancestors who empower me and keep me strong. I'd like to thank you all for having me here today, and I'd like to welcome you to Ghana country. Ngā Chalia, thank you.
Lord abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains and let us sing advance Australia
Gee, nailed that. Oscar Bridges, that's a great version of Advanced Australia Fair. I'm Andrew Moore alongside former Australian leg spinner Kristen Beams. Former English spinner Alex Hartley will join us along with Henry Moran. We're evenly split, 2 Aussies, 2 English people for this first T20 game. Let's go down. Aaron Bryans was at the toss, and Aaron, still very, very hot here in Adelaide.
Thanks, Jibs. Blistering 34 degrees down here. The toss has just occurred. Australia have won and elected to bowl. Meg, why did you decide to do that?
Oh, it's just a new wicket. I started the series. It's always nice to get out there and field first as a team. So I don't think the wicket will change too much throughout. It looks a belter, so just looking forward to getting started.
And I understand you have a debutant today.
We do. Lanning comes in, which is really exciting for her. She deserves her opportunity. Grace Harris is also playing, which is great.
Alyssa Perry not in the side?
No, she's not on the side tonight. We felt that the mix that we've gone with tonight will be the best one to win this game, but we'll see how it pans out.
Best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
Heather having a bat first, happy with the result?
Yeah, not too displeased. I would have had a bowl first as well had I won the toss, but looks like a reasonably nice, even covering the grass, decent wicket, and yeah, nice to get out there and hopefully put some runs on the board.
Breeze started to pick up a little bit, but it's fairly hot. Are you kind of looking forward to batting first rather than being in the field because of the conditions?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's much nicer being here in the sun than being back home in the miserable grey weather, I'll tell you. But yeah, it might change potentially when the lights come on and stuff, but as a team we've got to adapt to that and try and make the most of the conditions we get.
The disappointing news today, Anya Shrubsole had an injury down at Karen Rolton Oval. Do you know any news on that?
A little bit. It was a previous injury that she's turned and she seems okay. I think they'll just assess it in the next few days and see how she pulls up from that little twist.
Any debutants?
No, so we're playing a very similar side to what we played in our previous summer. Maya Boucher is in at 7 and Freya Davis comes in with the ball as well.
Best of luck tonight.
Great, thanks very much.
There you have it, Andrew. Australia have won the toss and elected to bowl here at the Adelaide Oval to begin the Women's Ashes.
Good on you, Aaron. That English team in likely batting order as Australia comes out, led by Meg Lanning into the field. And there is so much resting on this top 4. Tammy Beaumont and Danny Wyatt to open. Heather Knight, the captain. The great all-rounder Nat Siver. The keeper Amy Jones. Sophia Dunkley, Maya Boucher, Catherine Brunt, Sophie Eccleston, Sarah Glenn and Freya Davies. The Australian team in listed batting order. Alyssa Healy and Meg Lanning to open. Talia McGrath, Rachel Haynes, the vice-captain. Ash Gardner, Grace Harris, Nicola Carey, Jess Jonathan, Alana King, Taylor Blemenick and Megan Shute. No, Elise Perry, Annabelle Sutherland, Darcy Brown or Hannah Darlington, and of course the injured Beth Mooney. Kristen Beams, great to see you after ending the Men's Ashes series in Hobart the other day. There's an excitement now brewing about this Women's series.
Yeah, we finished one Ashes and we get to kick off what is going to be a fantastic series, and it's already been a lot of drama and we haven't even got to the first ball, so I'm looking forward to seeing Megan Shute in action. She's been missing, as has Rachel Haynes, being on parent duties. Missing the last international series, and I think 2 experienced campaigners coming back into this team, along with some excitement with Alana King, which I'm very pleased about, along with Grace Harris back in the side after a pretty long hiatus, it's fair to say.
So Tammy Beaumont will open the batting, the 30-year-old in a 98 T20 game, career strike rate of just under 109, and she's been playing for England for 12 or 13 years at this level, almost 1,700 runs and a higher score of 116 against South Africa. Averages just 16 against Australia with 1 half-century in 14 games. And Danny Wyatt, even more experienced. It's her 123rd T20 game, 1,882 runs with 2 centuries. So the ring field on the offside for Megan Shute. There's a backward point, point cover, extra cover mid-off. There's a mid-on, mid-wicket, and the 2 back are a square leg and a backward square in front of that beautiful old scoreboard. Alyssa Healy behind the stumps. Tammy Beaumont, very high backlift, and Megan Shute bowls, and it's an in-swinger. And it's defended away to point. There's no runners. Rachel Haynes does the fielding. Good to see Rachel back in the Australian team. She missed the latter stages of the Australia-India series and all of the WBBL. As you say, becoming a mum, and the veteran vice-captain is back poised, ready to go. After and doing well in the limited opportunities for New South Wales in the WNCL. Megan Shute, home ground for her. She's bowling strikes, Beaumont on the pad. Shout free LBW, then a chance of a run out, and the shy from cover missed. That was nearly a calamity for England. Talia McGrath came in, threw at the stumps, and Beaumont was halfway down. So it doesn't hit. She gets back, and a nervous start for Tammy Beaumont.
Yeah, that actually looked close, and I think that's why she took a few steps down the crease, maybe going down legs. Prolific swing from Megan Shute. She seemed happy enough with the decision, but just wandering outside of her crease and a direct hit, she would have been out.
Beaumont waits again, and she steps out of the crease this time and just tickles it down to deep backward square. And she'll get an easy single as Nicola Carey does the fielding. And England is away in this Women's Ashes series. Tammy Beaumont won. England no wicket for one midway through the first over. And we appreciate your company through ABC Radio, through the BBC, ABC Sports Digital Radio, and the ABC Listen app, wherever you are, no matter where you are around the world. Thanks for joining us, and let's hope this is a great series, because it's very important the way this point system is structured that you win at least one of these three games.
Minimum. If you don't win one of these, you are really behind the eight ball, and the test match becomes a little bit of a non-event.
2 points for a win in the T20 games, none for a loss. Now it's Danny White on strike, and she's pushing away. Square on the offside. Can't get a run to Rachel Haynes, who's brilliant inside the circle. And there's no run. Megan Shute, typically online. And she turned 29 on the 15th of January, just recently. Made a debut for Australia in T20 cricket in 2013. 96 wickets at an average of 15.35 and a best of 4 for 18 against India. She's been a stalwart of this Australian attack in all forms, and here she has White pushing away to cover. Talia McGrath in again quickly. White wanted a run, and Beaumont wisely this time sends a partner back. And there's no run. Megan Shute this year only played a handful of games, 3 of them. Picked up 3 wickets. But she's just phenomenal, isn't she? And it's not just the in-swing.
Yeah, she's amazing. Great change-ups. She'll use slower balls later on in the innings, but early on, while the ball's going to swing, she'll get it up and she'll ask plenty of questions of Danny White.
Finally inside the circle, and this ball's into the gap, square on the onside. Danny White sets off quickly, has one. In comes Alana King from short fine leg to field. Gets the return in. You can hear the stump shatter. But Danny White had comfortably made it back for a scurry 2. She's off the mark with a double. Tammy Beaumont won, and that's the end of the first over of the Women's Ashes series. And England no wicket for 3, and it was a pretty spot-on over from Megan Shute.
Yeah, you don't expect anything less from Megan Shute, even with time out of the game. Big swinging deliveries. And for both of these players, both like to hit on the offside, especially Danny White. She'll be trying to pierce that offside field. So Megan Shute hanging it outside of the off stump, swinging back in, making it very, very challenging. But this is the one for me. Taylor Blemenick, absolutely rapid with the ball, and for both of these players, they wouldn't face a lot of really, really fast bowlers. And she was on point for the Hobart Hurricanes this year. Economy of less than 6, bowling fast. You can't ask for much more, and Meg Lanning's in there at slip.
Taylor Blemenick, gee, she's had some injuries, hasn't she? 2 knee reconstructions, a dislocated shoulder, among other things. It's a 15th T20 international for Australia, 13 wickets, economy rate of under 6. And she, like you say, had a very good WBBL series, going at only 6 and over, and she's in bowling to Beaumont, but it's a wide down the leg side, and Alyssa Healy drops it. So that was a little bit of an ugly start for Taylor Blemenick. So England on to none for 4. That was a wide. The umpires out there for this game, Claire Polisak and Bruce Oxenford, who's down there at the cathedral end of Adelaide Oval, which looks a picture. A couple of thousand people in, half the ground shut off to the public. Lights are on at full bloom, but no real need for them at the moment. Here comes Blemenick bowls, and slashing outside off stump and missing is Beaumont as it goes through to Healy, moving across in front of Lanning at slip. So slip, deep third, and Alana King, backward point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and Megan Shute down at fine leg. Alana King's selection ahead of Amanda Jade Wellington, the leading wicket taker in the WBBL.
Yeah, happy with that, especially in this format. I think in terms of T20 cricket, Alana King quicker through the air, will attack the stumps. So I think that's a nice fit in this Australian team.
Blemenick again on away, bowls, and Beaumont's beaten. Got squared up outside the off stump. And through it goes to Alyssa Healy. Ball at about 119k an hour. She wouldn't be the quickest in the Australian squad these days, would she? Darcy Brown would have it probably just covered.
Yeah, I reckon they're probably in and around both of them. I'm not sure it'd be very fun to be a batter for Australia at the moment with both Brown and Blemenick in the nets. I'd be opting for throwdowns if I was a batter.
The Hobart Hurricane star is on her way, bowling to Beaumont. Short bouncer, hit her on the helmet and bounces away to backward point. She says she's okay. She's got a big smile on her face, Tammy Beaumont, but you could hear that in the sound effects, the full whack. Now, the English trainer's coming out because, like I say, there are protocols to go through. But she was smiling straight away and had a thumb up, and Australian players converged to make sure she was okay. But I tell you what, you can't get a better, more accurate bouncer than that one from Taylor Blemenick. That's
what you talk about when you say you're going to bowl the short ball. That is really well directed. And Tammy Beaumont willing to take it on. She wasn't trying to evade that delivery. She was trying to go for the pull shot. And I think we'll see both of these batters try and take on the short pitch bowling. But as I said, that's the difference when you've got more pace on the ball, is that it's a bit more of a surprise. And they're actually going to have a look at this helmet. No batter likes this either. You want to keep the helmet on that you've got because it's the comfort. So she's probably a bit annoyed, and now the 12th and 13th are scrambling to try and find another one. But
it's only Blemenick's third game against England in this form. 3 wickets, an average of 9, and an economy rate of 4.5. So they would be wary, to say the least.
Yeah, and we spoke about it a lot through the men's test series as well, about their quick bowlers aren't as effective on English wickets, and I think it's the same with the female game. We see more of the medium paces that swing the ball being the most effective in both their regional games and as well as the 100. We've seen more of your Tash variants that are more slower pace. So at Taylor Blemenick, the pace is different, and it's going to take them some time to adjust, especially on the wickets here in Australia that are pretty true, and they're going to have a bit of bounce. Like through the men's Ashes, your text messages are certainly welcome. 0467 920 222 is the number to send a text. 0467 920 222. And we've got a bit of a cranky one to start us with. But I think it's a fair question, though. Absolutely disgraceful how Georgia Redmayne has not been included to replace Beth Mooney through weight of runs over a long time, plus Ash Gardner keeps getting picked without performing or scores. Georgia Redmayne would have been the like for like, wouldn't she? She definitely would have been the like for like if they'd have gone from outside of the squad, but they would have also had the option to go with Haynes within as the left-hand, right-hand combination. And I think they would have spent a whole lot of time talking about whether they wanted the left-hand, right-hand. And I'm sure that the skipper said, I'm happy to take that on, and that's why they've gone with the 2 right-handers. But she certainly has weight of runs, Georgia Redmayne. 437 of them in 14 WBBL games, an average of 33.61, 5 50s. So Tammy Beaumont's all right now, and she's forward defending back to the bowler, who picks it up, leaping high in the air and then threatens to shy down the stumps. And Tammy Beaumont was in retreat. No run. Australia has England at no wicket for 4 after Meg Lanning won the toss and sent England into bat. What do you make of this English side? Pretty consistent. They've had a fairly consistent team. Good to see Maya Bouchier getting her opportunity after coming out and playing in the WBBL for the Melbourne Stars. I think that's a good in for England. Now it's Blemenick in short of a length, pulled away by Beaumont just in front of square leg, and the chase is on by Ash Gardner out towards the mid-wicket boundary. They have a couple of runs, and that's all they will get. Oh no, they are coming back for a third. The fielding out there was just a little bit sloppy, and in the end it was picked up by Grace Harris. So they do get 3. Tammy Beaumont 4, and in the second over England is no wicket for 7. Their batting is very top heavy, which is not totally unusual in T20 cricket, but it's really top heavy. No, it's not, and definitely Knight and Siva are going to be the keys depending on the start that England get. If they lose quick wickets, you would expect those two to build a partnership, or both have the opportunity to accelerate, and are both very good at that at the back end of innings as well. But Sophia Dunkley has had a really good start to her international career so far. You'd expect Australia would have done their homework, but she would be hoping to keep her good form going that she's had back in England. Last ball of the second over, and it's Taylor Blemenick bowling to Danny White. This time, who just, almost like she's going fishing, dangled the bat, and she's beaten. Good over by Blemenick. 4 runs off, 2 overs in England, sent it to bat. No wicket for 7. Tammy Beaumont is 4. Danny White is 2. Blemenick 1 over, none for 4. And that's the challenge for England, is that you come up against a Megan Shoot, slower pace, big swing, you're trying to make that adjustment, and then at the other end you've got raw pace from a Taylor Blemenick, and it's really hard to get settled into your innings, and there's no consistency in the type of bowlers used. Meg Lanning loves to use 1 over spells, which is why we're going to see Taylor.
Yes.
Talia McGrath, who's going to come into the attack. Meg just loves to use one-over spells, and I would expect she's going to go one-over spells throughout this power play. The only time we haven't seen her do that is with the quickies to allow them to get a bit of consistency. So maybe, just maybe, Taylor Blemenick will bowl the next one at the other end.
Talia McGrath was the player of the series in September against India. And she's on here from the city end. Got a 15-metre approach. No slip for Tammy Beaumont. Short third, short fine leg, and she's right on off stump. Tip and run on the offside. Healy, in fact, does the fielding. And sidearms a throw back to the non-strikers. Then Grace Harris backs up. They do get a run. Tammy Beaumont 5 from 9. And England no wicket for 8. She had a monster series, didn't she, in all forms. Talia McGrath. Her WBBL season as the Adelaide Strikers captain started like a house on fire and kind of fell away a little bit. 338 runs at an average of 42.25. She'll take that, but only 1 half-century and 12 wickets at an average of just under 30 and an economy rate just over 7. She's on her way bowling to White, and she's driving. Can't beat mid-wicket. And the fielding's done there by Ash Gardner. Dot ball. What about Ash Gardner's selection?
Yeah, I think for Matthew Mott likes to back his players who've been consistent in the side, and I think maybe if Wareham, Molyneux being out, I think 2 key spinners with the debutant in Alana King, you've got the experience of Jess Jonathan. I think it's probably a question of what she can do with the ball and making sure that Meg Lanning has really good experienced spin options. I think if Meg wasn't going to potentially use her as a spinning option, I'm not sure she would have been selected. I think on batting form, I don't think she would be picked.
4 ducks in a row, was it, to end her WBBL campaign? Here's McGrath. She's into White, who again plays and misses. Gave herself room. It was a very loose shot, and through it goes down low to Alyssa Healy. So there's a short third backward point cover mid-off in Jess Jonathan. Mid-on, mid-wicket, deep square leg, and Alana King in her first game in Australian colours at short fine leg. What a moment for her. Meanwhile, it's McGrath continuing the third over with England no wicket for 8. Bowls to White, comes down the track. It was a wide delivery, and she clubs it along the ground towards deep cover. And they'll get but 1 to Megan Shute. She gets in a return on the half volley to Alyssa Healy. So Danny White moves to 3. England along now to no wicket for 10. None for 10 we are in the third over. White 3, Beaumont 5.
And McGrath's different again, so she can get some outswing as well as inswing. So for the England batters, again, not settled with the swinging ball.
McGrath bowls to Beaumont, and here's the ramp over the head of Alyssa Healy. Gee, she's played that well, Tammy Beaumont, and will beat Blemenick to the very fine third boundary. So she played that brilliantly, Tammy Beaumont. Gets the boundary, first of the innings. She's 9. England no wicket for 14.
And both of these players really inventive. We'll see them move around. Danny White likes to give herself space to hit through the offside. Tammy Beaumont, lots of sweeps, paddles, likes to walk at the bowler. And that's when these 2 batters are at their best. And I think they can do that. They can afford to do that on these wickets and try and throw Australia off their game. It's been all one-way traffic at the moment. I think that's a good move.
Tammy Beaumont, it's her 12th international in Australia. She averages just 8.33, and here she's driving and dropped by the bowler McGrath. They go through for a quick run to Jess Jonathan at mid-off, and they get through. So Tammy Beaumont moves into double figures. She's 10. England no wicket for 15. It was well pitched up, a slower ball, and it was clubbed back to the bowler, and McGrath dropped it, moving to a left.
Well, she'd be disappointed with that. She actually got both hands to it. Just one of those reaction, just popped straight back out.
Now it's Danny White back on strike. Last ball of the third over. McGrath bowls to White. Big windy woof. Swing and a miss by White, who has not looked comfortable for 1 second. And that ends the over as it went through to Alyssa Healy. 8 runs off, 3 overs in. England is no wicket for 15. The run rate only 5 and over. And remember, the power plays for the first 6 overs, where you can only have 2 fielders outside the circle. On the SMS, 0467 920 0222. Luca's in touch. G'day, Luca. Keep expecting the Love God to make an appearance. I miss Finney already. I know the feeling, Luca. And I think he flew out of Australia yesterday. Enjoyed a couple of days in Hobart. Zach from Canberra, if you're talking about people missing out, Amanda Jade Wellington proved today why she should have been selected. 3 for 15 against England A. Leading wicket taker in the WBBL, as we mentioned. Must have been oh so close and could feel hard done by.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that comment. The part for me is I don't know why you can't pick 2 leg spinners. I think if 2 of your best bowlers both bowl leg spin,
you'd pick 5 if you could.
Yes, I would.
Here's a 2-over spell. Taylor Blemenick bowling from the Cathedral end, and she's into Beaumont, who's rocking back and pulling between mid-wicket and mid-on. The chase is on for Grace Harris. I think the ball will beat her. It does in front of the Sir Edwin Smith stand. A boundary for Tammy Beaumont. She's starting to find the middle. Moves to 14. And England at the start of the 4th over, none for 19.
Nice shot that. She actually just sat back. We normally see Tammy Beaumont trying to go at the bowlers more in the power play. But just knowing that she was maybe going to get a short one, and it wasn't actually that short, but she is very short in stature. Is that a nice way to say that?
Yes.
Vertically challenged?
Still low to the ground.
Yeah.
She's 14 off 12. And as Blemenick responds, still a slip in place, and she's being driven down a bit on, went off with the straight to Grace Harris at mid-on, and they make it comfortably. That was well played by Beaumont. She moves to 15, and England 20 without loss in the 4th over, and it'd be good to see Tammy score some runs because she did not have, even though Sydney Thunder won the WBBL when she was last here, a couple of WBBLs ago, she was really struggling to get the ball off the square the entire series.
And it was a real surprise because internationally she'd been so good.
Now it's Danny White. Can she find her feet here? Blemenick bowls to her, and she's nudging this down towards Megan Shute at fine leg for a run. Probably not a bad thing to do when you're just struggling. So Danny moves to 4, and England 21 without loss midway through the 4th over.
And I think for White, probably will find it easier with a bit more pace on the ball and less swing compared to, say, a Megan Shute or a Talia McGrath. She likes to really bully the bowling when she can, and she's happy to give up her stumps to be able to slash through the offside.
So Australia's quickest bowler today is in now bowling to Tammy Beaumont, who's working. Can't beat mid-wicket this time. And it's a dot ball to Gardner. So there's Meg Lanning at slip, Alana King's at deep 3rd, Rachel Haynes backward point, McGrath at point, Nicola Carey in the covers, Jess Jonathan at mid-off, Grace Harris at mid-on, Ash Gardner at mid-wicket, and then Megan Shute at deep backward square.
Meg Lanning's in a wide slip, and I actually asked her about it, and she said that all the stats suggest that it doesn't go to a true first slip. It actually goes wider, and that's why that she'll always stand a bit wider.
Blemenick bowls to Beaumont. Pull shot, and she gets this very, very fine, perhaps off an under edge, and 4 runs just in front of us. So Tammy Beaumont moves to 19. England none for 25. And all of a sudden, the runs are starting to flow a little for England. 10 runs off this over so far with 1 ball to come.
Yeah, again, just erring a little bit, Taylor Blemenick. And with so much pace on the ball, she only needed to get something, anything on that. And now we're going to see a field change. And I think that's to allow Taylor Blemenick to bowl a little bit straighter. So the fielders come from the offside to the leg. So I'm going to see her target the top of the stumps here.
3 boundaries now for Tammy Beaumont. She's 19 off 15 deliveries. Blemenick in, bowls, and it's short again. Pulled away between square leg and mid-wicket. Has she got enough on it? Gardner in hot pursuit. Ball heading to the rope, and the ball beats a headlong dive by Ash Gardner. Her 4th boundary, Tammy Beaumont. She's on 23 off 16 deliveries. That blow to the head did her no harm at all. England 29 without loss, 14 off that over. And Taylor Blemenick, the unflattering figures of 2 overs, none for 18, and Beaumont ensuring England off to a good start here.
Yeah, really good start. It was slow going early on in the first few overs, but really been able to put the foot down. And Meg Lanning does what Meg Lanning does when they're under pressure, and that's bring Jess Jonathan into the attack. For so many times we've seen Jess Jonathan play such a key role in the power play, and even though Sophie Molyneux did a wonderful job in her absence, I think Meg will be very happy to have Jonathan back into the lineup. She had a phenomenal WBBL off the back of being injured. It's never an easy thing to come back from injury, but just
21 wickets at under 15.
It's crazy, isn't it? And you just expect nothing less with Jess Jonathan. She just continues to be one of the world's best bowlers.
Became the first player to appear in 100 WBBL games, and her mum was there. I think that might have been in Mackay. And Jess from Emerald, it's an 86 T20 international, 74 wickets, best bowling of 5 for 12 against India. And what about a career economy rate for Australia? 5.43. That is
phenomenal, isn't it?
Absolutely elite. 23rd game against England, 18 wickets. and her 39th game in Australia, 37 wickets. As down the track comes Danny Wyatt. Lofts her high, lofts her straight, lofts her for 6. Danny Wyatt's found the middle of the bat. And that's the first raise of the arms from umpire Claire Polisak of the evening. Danny Wyatt 10, and all of a sudden she's at a runner ball. England none for 35.
That's a really nice decision from Danny Wyatt. First ball from Jess Jonathan. When Jess Jonathan gets to settle and bowls into the wicket, you know that it's going to be hard to score. And that one, just a little bit more air from Jonathan, and Wyatt just skips down the wicket and puts all the pressure back on Jess Jonathan.
Two deeper at extra cover and mid-wicket. Jonathan to Wyatt. Down the track again, lofts it. Doesn't hit it quite so well, I don't think. Or maybe not. 6 again. She got right underneath that one, set it high in the air. And that is Jess Jonathan being greeted rudely by Danny Wyatt, back-to-back tonks. And Wyatt moves to 16. England 41 without loss in the 5th over.
Better delivery from Jess Jonathan, that one. Outside of the off stump, Wyatt actually had to go cross-bat at it and wasn't to the pitch of it, but was good enough to still get it over the boundary, and we now see a field change. And I'd expect that Jess Johnson's really going to try and come into the wicket. The offside's up, so she's change of angle, and she's going to have to come in really tight to the stumps with this field.
Grace Harris at long on. Jonathan conceding 12 off her first 2, and Wyatt cheekily just taps it away with soft hands towards mid-wicket. Alana King comes into field, and they stroll through for a single. I like that. 17 for Wyatt. England no wicket for 42.
It's the bit that really annoys you as a bowler. And you finally get a delivery the way that you want it, and they manage to get off strike. And change of field again, with the mid-wicket going into a fine leg, just trying to get out of this over. There's already been a bit of damage early.
So now it's Tammy Beaumont, who's been on the attack against the quicker bowlers. 23 off 16, facing Jonathan for the first time. Who's in, well flighted, and Beaumont just whips it away along the carpet towards deep mid-wicket. Picked up by Ash Gardner. Another single. 14 off the over off the first 4 deliveries. Beaumont 24, and England no wicket for 43. Heather's listening in Yagoona. Go the Aussies, enjoying your call. Thank you, Heather. Hi, team, and thanks for the call. What's Tammy's batting stats against Australia in T20s, asked Paul. Jonathan, well, it's pretensies. She came in, got to the bowling crease and didn't bowl, and there's a fielding change. Alana King's going from point to short third. I'll give you those figures at the end of the over for Tammy Beaumont against Australia. They're not great. Jonathan bowls. Down the track comes White. Hit it too well to get a run to McGrath at mid-off. Dot ball. But Tammy, vastly experienced, has played 14 previous games against Australia, averaging 16. Highest score of 58 not out and a strike rate of 96. She rocks back and just taps this away with a horizontal bat towards mid-wicket. Has one. Carey a bit of a fumble, but it won't cost them a run. And that ends the 5th over. England's most productive with 15 off it. In fact, we've seen 29 off the last 2 overs. England none for 44 after 5 overs here at Adelaide Oval. Tammy Beaumont 24, Danny Wyatt 18. And Jess Jonathan doesn't often look up at a scoreboard and see 1 over none for 15 next to a none.
No, she does not. And what England have done really well in these last few overs is that they've been able to get boundaries early on in the over. So they've been able to take the momentum and put the Australian bowlers under pressure. And then it's just allowed them to keep playing. If they then get a bad ball, they can really cash in. But what we see from Danny Wyatt so often, and it's what makes her so good, is that she continues to keep going. She won't just settle if she's got that 1 or 2 boundaries in the over. She'll want to keep going after the bowling. And that's why we see Megan Shute back into the attack, trying to just salvage something in this power play for Australia.
Opened the bowling, conceded but 3 runs. Deep backward square, deep mid-wicket for her. Last over of the power play, and down the track comes White and then corrects her shot. And just a late cut down to Rachel Haynes at backward point, no run. Haven't seen too many dot balls in the last few overs.
And this is a good matchup because Megan Shute, big in swing. Danny White going to hit against the swing to go through that preferred offside.
Shute bowls to her. She's down the track and she goes straight again. That's where she's having success. 1 bounce over the rope, 4 more Danny White. She didn't look like she could hit the ball. It was a beach ball size in the first few overs, and now she's whacking them down the ground. She moves to 22 of 16 deliveries.
Great shot that. And again, we're seeing her go straight down the ground. And I think that's a really good move on this surface, especially if the ball's swinging around. Try and play the line of the ball rather than forcing it against the spin or the swing. Just keep going.
Tap of the bat there from White. Shoot, the traditional skip, hop and a jump as she starts a run up, and it's an inside edge to open space for Danny White down towards fine leg. Coming across from deep backward square to field is Carey, and they come back for 2 runs. So Danny White moves to 24, and that's the 50 on the board for England without loss in the 6th over. So they've come in here with a limited preparation. They need a good start in this series, and these openers are giving it to them.
They've done really well. They've taken the pace of the wicket. They know how it's playing now, and now they're cashing in.
Shoot. On the way to White. And White gets a slower ball. She doesn't know where it is. Chops it onto her body, and the ball ends up just rolling about a foot away from her. And Alyssa Healy comes round to pick up. No wicket for 50.
And I think we'll see Nicola Carey. She quite often bowls the 7th over. I think we'll see her come into the attack and her ability to take pace off the ball. So I think for Australia, they'll be looking to try and take as much pace off when they get out of this power play. 2
balls to come in at Shoot bowls, and White gets another slower ball, and it's just tapped away on the onside. Shoot intercepts in front of mid-on, and it's another dot ball. So only 6 runs off this over. At the end of the over, we've got Matt Clinch, executive producer of our men's cricket series. He's at the tennis. Already. He's at Rod Laver Arena. So Nick Kyrgios playing second seed. Daniel Medvedev will get an update from Clinchy very shortly. And through the evening, exciting night in Melbourne. Here's Shoot, bowling to White, and White turns it away square on the onside. Seem more pad than bat as Blemenick picks up at square leg, and it will be a leg by. And that ends the power play. No wicket for 51. England, great start. Beaumont 24, White 24. Let's go to Matt Clinch, and then a double change here. The all-English combination of Henry Moran and Alex Hartley. But Clinchy, what's doing at Rod Laver Arena?
Andrew, good evening. Second round action between Nick Kyrgios taking on the second seed Daniil Medvedev. Didn't take long for Medvedev to get the break in the third game. He was able to get the break on Kyrgios' serve. He was able to hold serve, but it's Medvedev who leads 3-2. Kyrgios hoping that despite a lack of games, a home crowd might be able to provide some support. Let's take you back to the Adelaide Oval to Henry Moran.
Thank you very much, Matt, and what a good start this has been for England, Alex Hartley. As soon as that first ball was bowled, and it wasn't a wicket, as we saw in the men's Ashes, I was happy. I thought we were going to be okay.
Thought, here we go.
Encouraging this from England, 51 without loss. We're going to see Nicola Carey having a bowl from down below in front of us at the river end of the Adelaide Oval under blue skies. We've got the floodlights beaming down, but they needn't be quite this early. Carey in with the keeper standing up. It's just dropped a little bit short, helped round the corner. That's nicely played. Could be 4 runs, and it will be. Fielder in the deep backward square, can't get there. And the score moves on to 55 without loss.
A good flick off the hip, that from Danny Wyatt, just helping it around the corner. That ball angling down the leg side, and she's just able to hit it past short fine leg for 4. She's flying now is Danny Wyatt, 28 of 21 deliveries after a pretty slow start by her standards.
It was cautious, I think it's fair to say, in the first couple of overs from England. But they're motoring now, 55 without loss. Carey is in. This is outside the off stump, clubbed away in the air. Could be a chance of a catch. No, fielder running around from deep cover won't get there. And as the throw comes in from the deep, England will get back for a couple of runs. Megan Schutt out there, Adelaide local, in front of those dugouts. And England move to 57 without loss.
What a start.
This is already... Well, I'm gonna wait, actually, Alex, for that stat. In comes Carey, bowling, and hit down the ground forcefully. Could be 6 runs, this, over the keeper's... over the bowler's head, I should say, from Danny White. 1 bounce, 4 runs. And England pick up another boundary. 61 without loss. Remember, join the conversation on the text line. 0467 920 222 in Australia. Hashtag BBC Cricket. TMS at bbc.co.uk. Wherever you might be. Hi, Henry and Alex. So glad Grace Harris is playing. I met her at Mackay at the WWBBL games, and she was a huge hit with the kids. In comes Carey. 61 without loss. This is defended carefully, cautiously by Danny Wyatt with a big stride forward. Go Aussie girls. Thank you, ABC, for covering women's cricket, says Pam at Innisfail. So hello, Pam. Do get in touch wherever you might be listening. And what I was going to say, Alex, is it took England until the final innings, England's men, of the Test series to reach a partnership in the 60s. Pushed away into the offside towards backward point, and there is no run. And that's an opening stand, but we've seen Wyatt and Beaumont already reaching that. 61 without loss. This is everything England could have dreamt of, isn't it?
It is. After the last 23 balls, England have scored 46 runs at a run rate of just over 12. So they're going along very nicely, these two.
Carey bounding in once more, right arm over, punched forcefully, and that's a good piece of timing. That's a really good stop from the Australian captain, Meg Lanning, in the covers. She slides, diving to her left, and the crowd acknowledge a really fine piece of cricket with a single taken at the end of the 7th. 62 without loss is the score. So, coming into this series, Alex, neither side had an easy time of it, because plans for preparations, and bear in mind it was meant to be a test match first as much as anything else, it made it all difficult. But you've just got to do what you've got to do, as both men's sides found.
Yeah, you have. You know, England's preparation was less than ideal due to COVID, so 10 days out of this match, or before they travelled, sorry, they were having to have throwdowns from partners, mums, dads, brothers, sisters, girlfriends, boyfriends. So not ideal. They went over to Oman just before Christmas and did some test match preparation, which is also less than ideal, but they've made the most of having the T20s first here, and you know, England's T20 stats over the last few years have been really strong, so they've got off to a really good start here.
And here comes the debutant for Australia, leg spin bowler Alana King, key part of that Perth Scorcher side in the WBBL, and she's bowling in a very loud pair of sunglasses at the far end of the ground.
Well, she's known for her sunglasses in the WBBL. She's always got a spicy pair on.
This is as spicy as it gets in terms of the sunnies. Tosses the ball from one hand to the other. It's Wyatt on strike. And forward, pushing into the offside towards Haynes at backward point. Throw comes in and misses at the non-striker's end. A single is taken, so King is up and running. Really interesting selection, this, because all the talk...
The sunglasses.
The sunglasses, certainly. But in the side, ahead of who everybody expected to be played, Amanda Jade Wellington.
Yeah, I think she's got 3 for today for the Aussie A side against England A as well. So she's still ticking away, picking up wickets, but they actually thought Alana King bowled very similar to Georgia Wareham, which is why they've gone with that selection.
Speaking about sort of darting it in more than giving it the extra flight that Wellington provides, that is a quicker delivery, walloped away into the leg side, out towards deep mid-wicket, where it'll be fielded by Ash Gardner. In front of the Sir Edwin Smith stand, we've got fielders in the deep. Well, it's now shuffling around a bit. We've got a deep mid-wicket, long on, long off, and deep cover. The fielding restrictions having relented at the end of the 6th over, as King comes in and hit firmly into the leg side from Wyatt. Happy to pick up a single out towards Grace Harris at wide, long on. England moved to 65 without loss. Harris playing for the first time in international in 6 years.
Since 2016. Good player, Grace Harris. Played against her a few times, strikes the ball really well.
King moving in over the wicket in the sunshine. Rather cramping Beaumont for room, pushing into the offside. A single is added.
There are a few batters around the world that you don't really want to bowl at as a bowler, and Harris is one of those for me, because you just know if it's on her day, she will absolutely take you apart.
Very dangerous player. King moving in again. Giving herself some room as Wyatt, finding the gap on the leg side, and I think we'll pick up 4 runs. The ball plugs a little bit. It was aerial, and it does find the ropes, as signalled by umpire Andrew Moore to my left, who, with a flourish almost as loud as his shirt, tells us it is 4 runs. Jack Rule gets in touch on social media. Here we go. The morning just gets better. Back on comms, lots of ice cream and lots of runs, please, Alex Hartley and Henry Moran. And for our Australian listeners, I should say, last summer, we tried to have an ice cream every day of commentary we had together. Not great for the health.
But great for the morale.
Here comes King. Bowling to Wyatt. Nicely timed, but stopped at backward point by the outstanding fielding presence of Rachel Haynes. 70 without loss then is the score after 8 overs.
We went around the grounds, didn't we, and rated the ice creams around England and found some really nice ones. And if we don't do the same in Australia, I think I'll be mad.
Yes, I'm with you, but I'm a bit worried because we've also started taking these higher scooters to get to the ground, so we're burning absolutely zero energy.
I ran today, thank you, for a whole 15 minutes.
Did you?
Yep.
That's rather impressive.
Yeah.
I quite like the little scooters you hire.
Yeah, me too. They're a great way of conserving energy for commentary, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so. And you know, a rested body is a rested mind. Right then, Taylor Blemenick coming in from the river end. A fun little stat I've got on her opening spell, which it saw her hit speeds of about 121 kilometres an hour. Blemenick in front of us with a little hop and a skip, and then this sprint in. It's dropped short. It's in the air, but it'll land safely short of the fielder King at deep third, and a single is taken at the start of the over. 71 without loss. Blemenick in that spell, or in that over, was bowling quicker than much of what Ollie Robinson was bowling in Hobart.
Yeah, she was. And when she hit Tammy Beaumont on the head, that was a quick delivery, short delivery. I feared for the England openers that they couldn't quite see it, but they seem to have got themselves in now.
Here comes Blemenick again. Right arm over, and once again dropping it short. And it's rare you see genuinely beaten for pace in the women's game, but once more touching 121 kilometres an hour. And you may say, oh well, Mitchell Stark bowls 146.7, but it is, these are different parameters because Danny Wyatt, Tammy Beaumont just won't be as used to facing this sort of pace.
No, and you never put the bowling machines up to that pace because you never face it.
Blemenick again, sprinting in. And this does find the bat, but a rather thick outside edge. Work to do for the fielder down there at deep third. 1 run will be taken, nothing more than that. The score moves to 72 without loss. Paul in Wollongong. Both of these batters could displace Rory Burns if that was allowable. Come on now, hold on a minute.
Come on.
Come on, Paul. It's early in the series for that sort of sledging.
We're going already, are we? Starting already. Australia is still celebrating, rumour has it.
Blemenick moving into bowl to Beaumont. Plays the ball off the pads and towards the leg side, where sprinting in Gardner will collect at mid-wicket. 73 without loss. Irene at Tewkesbury, Tasmania. Come on, our Aussie girls. And a good question from Ravi in Sydney. Are the Sunnies like Maurice Shirt? I would say Alana King's Sunnies are infinitely cooler, but not quite as loud. Is that fair? I didn't pack my matching shirt of yours that we had last time. I'll have to get a new one.
We found that last time.
We did. Blemenick bowling, and again beating Wyatt for pace. She rather wafts a bat at it, goes through to the gloves of Alyssa Healy, and cranking that pace up. 124 kilometres an hour that time. 73 without loss.
Just beating Wyatt for pace here, Blemenick. And all Danny Wyatt can do is just try and knock the ball down to deep third to rotate the strike. A big gap over mid-wicket if she did want to get that pull shot out.
Blemenick, a little hop and a skip, begins the approach. And this finds once more the face of the bat run down towards deep third for a comfortable enough single to keep the strike. 9 overs gone, 74 without loss is the score. So England, at their current rate, would be looking at a total of about 165, something like that. But with all wickets in hand, there is the room to really put the foot down, Alex.
And the power down the order as well. Nat Siver, Heather Knight, Sophia Dunkley plays the short ball incredibly well. So some big hitters coming in for England. Sarah Glenn down at number 10. And she's a good batter as well. So there is some firepower for England. I'd expect at this rate they'd be aiming with the wickets in hand, probably about 170, 180. Put Australia under the pump. That's what they want to do. Australia favourites for this Ashes series, but if England could come in and win tonight, it changes the dynamic of this series.
Well, Heather Knight, the England captain, has spoken about leading first up and being aggressive from the off. giving herself some room. Danny Wyatt punches out towards deep cover where there is protection in front of the Max Bashir stand to our right. Shadows creeping across the Adelaide Oval, floodlights shining, trees in the distance. It is a beautiful scene. One of the only parts of the ground in sunshine is that magnificent scoreboard. And when I get my international call-up, Alex, I'd love to have my name painted up there. In comes McGrath. Beaumont playing the ball off the hips into the leg side. Probably just the one run. It will just be a single as Blemenick runs round from short fine leg to pick up.
When we were here last time for the Ashes, so back in 2017, we played at the North Sydney Oval. That's where we played our test match. And Sophie Eccleston for the first time saw her name on a scoreboard like that and actually asked if she could take it home. To which we were like, well, it wouldn't fit in your suitcase, you'd have to ship it.
You really would. McGrath bowling, hit away over the offside, over cover. That's a nice looking shot, and it's probably going to bring 4 runs. It will. A couple of bounces, and it skips into the fence. And Danny Wyatt, with that shot, approaches the half century. She moves to 48, and England 80 without loss midway through the 10th over.
She loves that shot, does Danny Wyatt, up and over extra cover. She can play that shot to almost any delivery that's bowled at her, but that one just outside the off stump, and she just lofts it over extra cover for 4.
She's got slightly funny wrists from an injury as a kid that allows her to put the ball in funny areas. I think she fell out of a tree or something. Here comes McGrath bowling to Wyatt, nudged into the leg side. Probably 2 if they want them, but they decide that the risk is not worth taking, and then there's a bit of a fumble, and eventually the sensible decision is not to push for that extra 1.
You recently discovered that somewhere, didn't you?
I did. I heard it on your podcast,
you
Alex
did
Hartley.
Indeed.
The No Balls Cricket podcast you can find on BBC Sounds. You and Kate Cross, you interviewed Danny Wyatt earlier on today. And so she plays the ball in funny areas. In comes McGrath. Oh, a really weird loopy delivery, which is shoveled into the leg side from the bat of Beaumont. Out to square leg and Nicola Carey. So she has sort of odd grip, doesn't she?
Yeah, which allows her to play that shot that goes up and over extra cover. But from that broken wrist when she was a kid, she holds the bat differently to, let's say, as Tammy Beaumont would.
All right, then, final ball of the first half of this innings. McGrath is in, bowling to Wyatt, who wants to drop and run, but can't find enough of a gap. And the over comes to an end. Halfway through the innings, England 82 without loss. We're going to get more in a moment. Andrew Moore's coming in. But first, let's get the latest from Matt Clinch at the Australian Open.
Henry, it was the 8th game of the match, and Nick Kyrgios was able to get the break back, so we're back on serve here on Rod Laver Arena against Daniil Medvedev, the number 2 seed. 4-all with Kyrgios able to break back. Played a couple of the best points of the match we've seen from the Australians. Let's return you to the Adelaide Oval to Andrew Moore.
Thank you, Clinchy. Thank you, Henry. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to work with you. And for all the talk about fashion and sunnies, you should be at the SCG on day 3, Jane McGrath Day.
Well, funny you should say that. I forgot I had this for Pink Day, so I wore a different number.
You did, with pink headband?
Yeah.
It was very extravagant.
I went all out.
Well, England going all out, although they're slowing down a tad. 44 in their first 5, 38 off their second 5. But you couldn't have dreamed for a better start. None for 82 after 10. And it's Alana King back to bowl her second over. 8 from her first. Bowls to Beaumont, gets a leading edge, out! Caught and bowled. Alana King does it on her own to get her first international wicket. Tammy Beaumont is out. Caught and bowled by Alana King for 30. England 1 for 82 in the 11th over. We spoke too soon, Alex Hartley.
We did. A debut wicket for that for King. And Tammy Beaumont just looking to knock it into the leg side. Gets a thick leading edge. It spoons up. And King on debut. She gets her first international wicket in the sunnies. Caught and bowled, and Tammy Beaumont goes for 30.
This is what she did throughout the WBBL campaign. She's just one of those golden arms. Tammy Beaumont, 30 of 24 deliveries. Really good knock from her. Such a senior player, and as I was saying before you came in, Alex, so much for England rests on this top 4, really, doesn't it? I know they bat long, as you mentioned, Sarah Glenn down at 10. but it is very top heavy. They've got some. They need to score runs. This top 4.
Yeah, if we're going stats wise, they're very top heavy. Heather Knight, the captain, coming in at 4. Amy Jones doesn't have a great record against Australia, and then Sophia Dunkley is a good cricketer. She plays in peculiar areas. I'm looking forward to seeing her back. But England have gone batter heavy today for this first T20 and only decided with the 5 bowlers.
It is amazing as Nat Siver comes in at 3 ahead of Heather Knight, that in 10 overs, England's openers have achieved what it took England's men 4.5 tests to do.
Yeah, we're here for the women's after.
Oh,
this.
sorry.
Come on, let's stop talking about how appalling the men were.
I tell you what, now the best all-rounder in the world comes to the crease in Nat Siver. And what impact will she have in all forms? The 29-year-old who was born in Tokyo, grew up in the Netherlands. It's a 90th T20 game for England. Averages just under 25 with the bat. Highest of 82 against the West Indies. 10 50s and a strike rate of 113. But here she plays and misses. A leg spinner from Alana King, and it's taken by Alyssa Healy. Score remains 1 for 82.
So she's incredibly strong off the back foot, is Nat Siver. And when you first have Nat to the crease, you want to try and bowl as full as possible because she likes to go back and play off the back foot.
Long on cover mid-wicket, fine-legged back, and Siver plays it along the ground to Grace Harris at long on, and they do get a run. So Nat Siver off the mark from the second ball she faces. England 1 for 83. You said you've had some trauma bowling to Grace Harris. Have you ever bowled to her sister Laura?
Yes, similar trauma as well.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She can hit the ball, I reckon, even further. Not as consistently well as Grace.
I actually, when I played in the WBBL, didn't really have a great season, so maybe that was the downfall of my international cricket, being taken apart by Australians week in, week out.
Done it all. But now you're back, make your fortune in the 100, amongst the wickets again. Back in Australia, doing your ice cream testing. Here's Alana King now, bowling to Danny White. Comes down the track and in the end was in 2 minds. Does well to play it on the ground towards McGrath at long off. Gets a single, gets a half century. 50 of 39 deliveries. England 1 for 84 in the 11th. And considering the way she played in those first 2 or 3 overs where she was struggling to get her bat anywhere near the ball, a remarkable turnaround. As soon as she started playing straight, gosh, it's been a good half century.
As soon as the spinner came on, Jess Jonathan, she just knew that the ball wasn't going to turn. She's not a massive spinner of the ball, Jess Jonathan, so she just looked to play straight.
Now it's Siver on strike, and she just tickles it to mid-wicket. In comes Jonathan to field, but they get another run. Siver moves to 2, and England 1 for 85. 1 ball left in the 11th over.
When we interviewed Wyatt this morning, we said, who's the one bowler you hate getting out to? She said, Jess Jonathan, because she doesn't turn it, she just bowls straight. So she knew what to do. She just had to bop her back down the ground.
Normally that's almost the death when you call that out, isn't it? As now Alana King is cut by Danny White. Straight to Rachel Haynes. Good fielding from Rachel at point, and that ends the over. Alana King picks up her first international wicket for Australia. She has 2 overs, 1 for 11. 11 overs, 1 for 85. England. Siver 2, White 50. Tell us about your first wicket for England. What are your memories of that?
I think it was caught long on.
You've got to have a memory.
We were playing Pakistan at Chelmsford. This is T20. And I think it was caught long on. Either that or extra cover. I don't actually know.
But you know it was caught.
It was caught somewhere. I definitely didn't bowl anybody.
Don't remember who it was?
Nah. I don't remember my first ODI wicket either. I know I got 4 for that. Did I get 4 for that day? I think I got 4 for that day.
So you got so many you can't remember them all.
Yeah, nice.
Taylor Blemenick. This will be her 4th and final over. She's bowling from the Cathedral end. 3 overs for 22. Get the sense this is just a crucial little period now. England 1 for 85 off to a great start, but they need to push on. Deep square, fine leg, deep third as Blemenick bowls, and Siver very patiently just rolls the wrist on it to deep backward square. Has 1, comes back for the second. Gardner's throwing its way, and Alyssa Healy tried to pick it up one-handed and flick it onto the stumps. None of that quite worked, but they were back for 2 anyway. Siver 4 off 4, 1 for 87 in the 12th.
It's one thing Nat Siver does incredibly well is run between the wickets. She's constantly pushing fielders.
She's so good out here in her last WBBL campaign for the Melbourne Stars. She and Catherine Brunt together, they both had outstanding seasons. Well, it's only 12 months ago. It seems like forever ago. Here's Blemenick. Bowling now to Siver, and that's a wide down the leg side, taken by Healy and signalled wide. So the score goes along to 1-4-88. As we welcome to UK listeners with us now on 5 Live Sports Extra. Good evening, good morning. What time are we at the moment?
I think 9 o'clock, but the time difference has thrown me because we're half an hour different.
Oh yeah, the half hour throws me too. It's a half an hour and it may as well be 73 hours.
Yeah, it's 9:02.
Now Blemenick is in, a nice strong drive by Siver, but it's straight to mid-on. Grace Harris picks up and it's a dot ball, 1-for-88 in the 12th over.
It's nice to see Grace Harris back in Australian colours as well.
It's a long absence, isn't it, for someone who's been consistent. I guess with the way she plays, there's going to be ups and downs. The graph's going to be pretty stark, but she had a really good year for Brisbane Heat. Highly regarded, vivacious character. Now it's Blemenick. Bowling to Siver, and she works this away, bat and pad to square leg, and will get a run. Was there any bat in that? I'm not sure there was. There wasn't. It's a leg by as McGrath comes to her right to pick up, and the score moves along to 1-for-89 in the 12th over.
Good bowling that from Blemenick though. Just get the ball up towards Nat Siver, bowl that fuller length. Because as I say, she likes to go back, and she's actually gone back to that delivery. But lucky for Nat, it was going down the leg side, missing leg stump.
So Taylor Blemenick into a 4th over, has none for 25. And if you're new to T20 cricket, maximum 4 overs per bowler. Blemenick is in now to White. I don't know what she's expecting there, White. She's expecting almost head high. She got down on her knees as the ball would have gone no higher than chest high. And Taylor Blemenick has a big smile on her dial. It's funny, White struggled against the extra pace of Blemenick and not against anybody else. But that extra speed is she's struggling with.
She can't quite work out how to play it either. So she's just been guiding the ball down to third, deep third, but then she almost tried to duck out the way of a bouncer that just went over the top of off stump.
She's 50 off 41 deliveries, 5 fours and 2 sixes, and it's down the leg side. Healy can't take it, diving to her left. Signal to wide by Bruce Oxenford, the umpire, and they get an extra run, so that will go down as 2 wides. And England along to 1-for-91 in the 12th over. Taylor Blemenick, none for 27 in a 4th. Gary's on the SMS. G'day, Gaz. Hi, Andrew. Do you think the injury to Beth Mooney will have an effect on the outcome of the Ashes? It's got to have an impact, losing your best player. I know, you desperately hope so.
I actually saw her today and she's in good spirits.
She's had surgery already?
Had surgery. She said that she can just about eat some mashed potato.
You think that's what she said through gritted teeth. This Blemenick bowling, leading edge from Siver, but it falls safely just forward of square. And they get a run to Talia McGrath. Nat Siver moves to 5. 1-for-92 in the 12th over. But it is an awful blow when you lose an elite player, no matter which team.
Yeah, it is. And it's nothing that you ever want to see, no matter who you are around the world. You know, it's a massive blow for Australia. But more than anything, we just want her to be okay. It sounded like a horrific injury.
Heard by all the players in the surrounding area. Last ball of Blemenick's spell for the day. And she's in bowling to Danny White, who's 50 off 41 deliveries, and she'll get at least a 51 here. Plays it with soft hands on the onside square, and then she sends Siver back. Only the 1 run to Ash Gardner. So White moves to 51, and England after 12 overs, 1-for-93. 8 runs off that over, and Taylor Blemenick finishes with 4 overs, none for 29. Alex Hartley moves out for the time being, and Kristen Beams, former Australian leggy, comes back in. Beamsy, Australia, just clawing the way back a little bit, but it's been a terrific start by England all the same.
Yeah, it's been a great start by England, but it was the leg spinner getting the breakthrough, and it's allowed them to put the brakes on, so to speak, but they're still going along nicely.
Last 5 overs, 31 runs. So they're drawing them back. First 5 overs, none for 44. None for 38 off the next 5, and off the previous 5. 1 for 31. Alana King is now bowling to Nat Siver, who's down the track and clubs this away, but along the ground. That was White, rather, to deep mid-wicket. Gardner does the fielding. They're coming back for a second run. Tell you what, a slightly better throw from Gardner, and Siver would have been in trouble. It bounced on the ground to Alana King, who whipped off the bails, but Siver makes good of ground in the end. White gets 2 more, 53. 1 for 95 in the 13th. What have you made of Alana King thus far?
She's been good. She's been prepared to get the ball up and full. She's tried to bowl stump to stump. And, you know, great wicket to get the leading edge. As a spinner, you want to see the ball turning and taking the outside edge. That sort of says to you that you're going along really nicely. And that is the value of having a leg spinner in the team, to to be able to get those kind of breakthroughs. And we've seen White has really only struggled when the ball's been moving or it's been really fast. So anything she thinks she can bully, she's gone after. And that's what makes King different to a Jess Jonathan. Ball both going the same way, but different amounts of turn.
Lanning King's just strolled over to the edge of the circle at cover. And what are we looking at here? Is there a possible one short?
I think that looks like one short to me.
Did the bat make it over the line?
Oh, maybe a little bit. I'm going to say that's okay.
Play on. 6 again.
Millimetre perfect.
1 for 95 England. They're still checking to see, but I think the edge of Siva's bat made it across the popping crease. You can send a text 0467 920 222. Still to come for England. Heather Knight, the captain. Amy Jones, who we've seen a lot of here in Australia. Looking forward to watching Sophia Dunkley play. Maya Boucher, who we saw in the WBBL. Catherine Brunt, Sophie Eccleston, Sarah Glenn and Freya Davis. So they've taken a run off. I think it's back to 1 for 94. As meanwhile, a magnificent shot by Wyatt down the ground. No need to run here. It's clubbed along on for 4. The mid-on was inside the circle, Grace Harris. White went 2 straight, and she moves to 56 with a score on to 1 for 98.
Great shot, and because she's so dominant through the offside, Alana King's got the cover out, even though she's trying to bowl stump to stump, which means that one of those straight fielders needs to be up inside of the ring, and that puts so much pressure on her.
So Danny White robbed of a run, 1 short against Siva, and here's a wide by Alana King. Gee, I thought it was outside that blue guideline, spinning further away.
As a spinner, you just keep walking there. She's got back to her mark very quickly there, Alana King, because that was a wide.
She's got the poker. Sunny's on too, Alana King, but she trotted past Claire Polisak. Now she bowls again, and White well flighted. Played it on the ground. Alyssa Healy likes it, and there'll be a run out to Gardner at deep mid-wicket.
Nice, Ash.
White will move up to 57. England 1 for 99 in the 13th over. The 1 short ruling. I mean, at the end of the day, you might be saying, who cares? If Australia wins in the last ball, it matters.
T20, yeah.
Last ball of, 2 balls to come. Lana King has 1 for 17, bowling a third. Here's a lap shot struck on the patch, out for LBW, not out. They scamper through for a run. It's another leg by, rules Claire Polisak. And Nat Siva walking a bit of a tightrope. They do get through for the leg by. And that's the 100 on the board for England in the 13th over. 100 for 1.
What I love is, they're going for the review. This is what I love, the DRS. Every player who never got DRS as a player is like, I love this rule. I would have got so many more wickets. I'm not saying that at all, but I think it's great.
Live.
TV umpire to director.
Midge say,
we have a player
Alyssa Healy say maybe outside of the line, but if you've got them,
not out.
Use them.
Can I have your best front on angle, please?
That's the voice of third umpire Mike Graham-Smith. We didn't have the DRS through the Australia-India series, did we? And Alyssa Healy was one speaking out saying we need it. It looked like it's struck it well outside the line of off stump.
Whether it's got that front pad or whether it's got the back pad.
I think either way, Beamsy, it might be outside off.
It's definitely tighter if it's got the back leg, but
true.
That's the value of having the reviews, is that you can go to them and have those looks.
They're checking now to see whether there was any edge off the bat of Siva.
Oh no, definitely outside the line.
There's a flat line as the ball passes the bat. The first impact is on the pad. I'm satisfied that there's no bat involved. Can we go on to ball tracking, please? The original decision is not out.
This doesn't look on the surface like a great review. 1 for 100. Siva 5, White 57. And now we'll get the definitive view.
Original decision not out.
Pitch is outside off, strikes
Pitching
outside off.
outside off, impact outside off. Yes, can we go back to the bowlers end
We will
umpire,
see some
please?
howlers, I think.
Clay, I'll get you
as
to
they
stick
get used
with
to the
your
system.
original decision.
So not out.
I'll wait till you're on screen now. Signal away.
All right, thanks, Mike. Mike Graham-Smith, third umpire. And so it'll be Lana King to continue. 1 ball to come of the over, bowling to Danny White, who's 57. 1 for 100. Long off in McGrath. There's a deep cover and a deep mid-wicket to our right in Gardner. King bowls. Down the track comes White, hits it high and handsome, and it's 6. Another one for Danny Wyatt through long on. She moves to 63. And England along to 1 for 106, and that turns a good over into a great over for England. 13 runs off. Alana King 3 overs, 1 for 23. Wyatt 63 off 47 deliveries. Nat Siver not out on 5.
Good batting. She's targeting the area where the fielder is up inside of the ring, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway with that ball striking. Great shot, and she's just got to keep going here. Ride the wave, allow a Nat Siver to actually just play a long innings. I wouldn't be surprised if England might consider what their batting lineup looks like. We know how good Heather Knight is, but whether they look at someone like a Catherine Brunt, Sophia Dunkley, a change in their order just to try and keep the momentum going.
So Megan Shute comes back into the attack for Australia to bowl her 3rd over. The shooter. She last bowled the final over of the power play. 2 overs, none for 9. Bowls to Siver. Shout for LBW, out. Given out by Bruce Oxenford, and immediately Nat Siver says we're going to challenge it. We're going to the DRS for the 2nd time in a couple of overs, both concerning Nat Siver, who doesn't look in great touch, but neither did Danny Wyatt in the first couple of overs, and she's now 63 off 47. It was a very confident shout from Megan Shute and from Alyssa Healy behind the stumps, but equally Beamsy, Nat Siver indicated she wanted to check it out immediately.
Yeah, it's hard to say whether she thought she hit it or whether it's just the swing of Megan Shute that makes her think, well, you know, I think that's going down the leg side.
Can I have your best front on angle, please?
Mike Graham-Smith had just
Fair
gone
delivery.
for his cup of tea after the last one.
Bang, bang.
Yep. She's very wide of the crease, Megan Shute. Big in-swinger. Oh,
it's the height.
Ball appears to miss the bat. I'll check that with Ultra Edge, please.
Back leg, but above the pad.
It's only, I think I'm calling it out.
We just got so used to height being an issue throughout the men's series, didn't we?
But I think back leg.
It's straight enough. It was out the back of the hand from Megan Shute.
Bent leg.
Siver plays all over it. Hits her on the thigh pad.
It's only got a clip, so I'm calling it out.
Put your finger up.
Thank you.
It's up.
Ball is passing.
Oh, she's hit it.
The bat.
Has she hit it? Or is it she hit the ground? I think she's hit the ground, hasn't she?
Mike can't hear you.
Mike, come in.
Run it through.
So there's noise on the Ultra Edge as it goes under the bat of Nat Siver. So that may have hit the bottom of a bat, right?
It feels like, well, it sort of looks like to me that the spike is actually before. It's early, but...
Just before.
Maybe.
Come on, you got to stick your fingers still up. Your arm will be getting tired.
I can't be doing both. I mean, I'm assuming it's not hitting.
Yeah, I'm satisfied that there's bat involved here.
Put your hand down.
Can we go back to the bowler's end umpire, please?
Not out. Australia's...
Bruce, I'll get you to reverse your original decision there. You're on screen. Signal now.
Not out. Beamsy, can you do your reverse signal? Thank you. Crossing the arms in front of the knees. 1 for 106. Nat Siver still there on 5, and Megan Shute does not have a wicket. Here she comes again from the Cathedral end. Again a slower ball, and Siver can't get a run as she punches it to mid-off, and she's got no timing at all, Nat Siver. And she's such a powerful player. 5 off 10. Australia would love to get her right now. They thought they've had her twice.
Well, it looks like it's tricky when you first get to the wicket. We've seen quite a few of the batters come in. No one's come in, and it's easy.
Plenty of space down the ground as Shute bowls, and Siver plays along the ground along on. And they just jog through for a single, and I think Siver just happy to get off strike, give the strike back to Danny Wyatt, as Grace Harris did the fielding. Siver 6, 1 for 107. 107 for 1, depending where you're listening. And we're midway through the 14th over after Meg Lanning won the toss and sent England into bat. And no Elise Perry for Australia. When was the last time she would have missed selection?
I think she would have been about 16 or 17, I reckon.
We're talking 14 or 15 years, probably. It's Shute. On her way to Danny Wyatt, gives herself room, goes over mid-off, over the head of Jonathan, yes. They have one, they come back for a second as the fielding's done out there by Talia McGrath. She shies at the non-strikers end, a long, powerful throw. She misses and they get back for 2. Wyatt 65, 1 for 109 in the 14th over.
And they just made that field change, the cover going a little bit straighter, so it's actually on the line of what the extra close in would be, and So they're asking Danny White, say, well, if you want to go through the offside, you've actually got to try and hit me square. And I think that's a good move. It's just, I think she's up for it, though, Danny White.
She dummies, giving herself room this time. Tips it on the offside and can't get a run to point. Good fielding by the Australian captain, Meg Lanning. And a rare dot ball to the bat of Danny White. This has been a heck of an over from Megan Shute. It's the 14th of the innings and only 3 runs off. She's in a third over and has none for 12.
Experience, her ability to take the pace off, got lots of different varieties of slower ball. That's what makes her so good.
Danny White, what can she do? She slices it over the head of Jonathan again. They get one, and McGrath from deep extra cover comes around. She can't prevent a second run. And they're all the ones. 1 for 111 at the end of 14 overs. Nat Siver, 6. Danny White, 67 off 50. And Megan Shute, 3 overs, none for 14. She's Kristen Beams. I'm Andrew Moore. Grandstand cricket throughout the ABC networks and the BBC. Great to have your company. On the SMS, the text line 0467 920 222. David's listening in the Sir Edwin Smith stand to our left, down towards deep mid-wicket as we look at it. You think Alana King has justified a selection ahead of AJ Wellington? I think in fairness, Alana King's bowling well. It'll take more than a few overs to justify someone who's bowling so well.
Yeah, and I think we've got to get away from whether it's one or the other. So for me, she absolutely deserves her spot in this side. Her record through the WBBL, the form that she's come in with, she definitely deserves to be selected in this team. It's just whether Amanda Jade Wellington also deserves to be selected in the team. And I sort of felt for Alana King a little bit. It's an exciting time. You know you're going to make your debut, and the talk has been more about the rivalry, and I really feel for her.
Well, here's Jess Jonathan, the left-arm finger spinner, who was tonked by Danny White first up. She faces the out-of-touch Nat Siver, who gets a leg bye that squirted away on the offside as she tried to play it on the onside. 1 for 112. Siver remains on 6. 15 runs off that first Jonathan over. And Danny White greeted her with 6, straight down the ground. First 2 balls. And now she's back on strike with a long on in Harris and a long off in McGrath. And Jonathan well flighted. And this time she plays a backward square with a sweep. May get a second, has one, and is on the side of caution there to Nicola Carey. Bounces the return back to Healy. 1 run, White 68. 1 for 113. Jace says, good evening, Andrew and all. Enjoy my evening listening in Sydney. Good on you, Jace. Thank you for listening. Jonathan bowls to Siver. Can she find the meat of the bat? She does with a sweep perfectly between mid-wicket and deep backward square. And that's the power Nat Siver has. She moves to 10. That'll give us some confidence. England 117 for 1. Tammy Beaumont was caught and bowled by Alana King for 30 of 24 balls with 4 boundaries in the 11th over after an 82-run opening stand with Danny White. Jonathan to Siver. Well flighted. Down the track comes Siver. Plays it between mid-wicket and long on. Good fielding by Gardner. Moving to a left from mid-wicket to keep it to 1. But that was beautifully struck again by Siver. She's 11. 1 for 118 in the 15th over.
Looks like she's just getting the pace of the wicket. And one thing we saw Nat Siver do a lot during the 100 for the Trent Rockets was really split the gaps on the leg side between mid-wicket and square leg, which was like the previous ball.
Jonathan to White on 68, comes down the track and just chips it over the imaginary infield along on and Grace Harris. There's no one there inside the circle, but played smartly by Danny White. She's 69 off 52. 1 for 119, 8 off the over, 1 ball to come. Jonathan has bowled 11 balls and conceded 22 runs. She bowls to Siver, clubs it cross-batted down to long on to Grace Harris for a run. To move to 12, and that ends the 15th over. 5 overs left. England 1 for 120, 1 for 38 off the last 5. White 69, Siver 12. Henry Moran's coming in to finish off this English innings. But first, how's Nick Kyrgios going at the Australian Open? Matt Clinch.
Andrew, he's just lost the first set after a 1-hour opening set, which went to a tiebreaker. Eventually, Daniil Medvedev won with 5 opportunities to claim the opening set 7-1. So Kyrgios, unfortunately, with a double fault at the wrong time. Also for our English listeners, no good for Emma Raducanu, who's down a set in her match taking place on Margaret Court Arena. Back to Henry.
Thank you so much, Matt. And an England side here at the Adelaide Oval looking set for a big total. Will it be big enough? Kristen Beams, that is the question. What From what we've seen of the pitch, I'll get your thoughts in a moment, because Nicola Carey is at the end of her mark, waiting to bowl to Natalie Siver, who has 12 from 15. Carey is in, right arm over. Siver gives herself some space, and there will be 4 runs. Helped over the short, fine leg field. It was just a little leg side-ish, and it helped merrily on its way down towards the boundary. 124 for 1. How many is enough, would you say?
Well, I look at it and say I think they would be talking about a 160-plus wicket. But based on the way that England are batting at the moment, what they've got in the sheds, I think they'd be eyeing off near the 175, 180. And I think if they can get up to around that mark, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Australia in the power play.
Here comes Carey again, trundling in from the far end of the ground, giving herself some room. Siver lofts over the infield into the offside. Cries of catch from some out in the deep on the leg side, but it lands safely. And a couple of runs are taken. England move forward to 126 for 1.
And what I've liked about England's batting so far is they've taken on some of their most experienced bowlers of Australia. We've seen them try to go after Nicola Carey, Jess Jonathan, even a Taylor Blemenick, Megan Shute. We've seen them go after the experience within the Australian lineup.
Carey in. Siver wallops the ball into the leg side, but there's protection in the deep, out at deep mid-wicket in the form of the normally reliable Ash Gardner, but she fumbles slightly, and England's batting pair will get through for 2. Deep breath from Danny Wyatt, who's done quite a lot of sprinting up and down the 22 yards. Siver moves to 20, 128 for 1. Interesting quotes from the England skipper Heather Knight, aiming to punch first against Australia.
I like that.
Here comes Carey, bowling to Siver, driving beautifully off the back foot through the offside for 4. That is a classy shot from Natalie Siver. England 132 for 1.
That is a proper cricket shot from Nat Siver. So dominant through the leg side, but gives herself a little bit of room and goes through the offside as well. And it seems like this wicket is all about just allowing yourself those few balls, even though it is T20 cricket, to get the pace of the wicket. And once you have the pace of the wicket, you can cash in. It makes me think this is going to be a big, big total for England.
50 partnership comes from 35 deliveries. Siver waits for Carey and goes hard again into the leg side. Cries of catch once more, but it'll drop well short of Gardner. 2 runs are taken, however. 134 for 1. 1 ball left of the 16th over. Yeah, Heather Knight spoke quite extensively about the disappointment of the 2019 Ashes, and just a sense that Australia were harder, tougher.
Yeah, it felt like that series was all about Australia and not a lot about England, and I think they've gone away from that. They've played some really good cricket. We've seen some new players in the lineup.
Siver waits, whips the ball firmly into the leg side. Work to do for the fielder at deep backwards square, and it will be collected, will it? Not cleanly. And Talia McGrath has to pick up rather wearily in front of those dugouts, as England see 2 more added. 136 for 1, 4 overs left of the innings, and it is now pretty much swing at everything.
Absolutely, and a bit sloppy by Australia in the outfield, and that's because of the pressure that England are putting on them, not only from a hitting boundaries point of view, but these 2 running so well between the wickets is that all of a sudden everyone feels under pressure in this Australian lineup at the moment. It's the bowlers at the top of their mark, the fielders, the wicket keeper, everyone's under pressure, and Meg Lanning can be still very calm in what she's saying. She'd be very much to the point in what she's saying and what she wants her players to do, and she's going to go to Talia McGrath here. So an inexperienced player at this level should be wanting to try and use as many change-ups as she can and try and just take the pace off. With any pace on the ball, these 2 look so good.
She's got 2 overs left to bowl in theory, Talia McGrath. Knows these parts well. From Adelaide. And is in. It's hit in the air. Cries of catch from Alyssa Healy. Can a fielder get there? No. Once again, landing in no man's land. It's Megan Shute that sprints in from deep cover. With just the 1 run taken, 137 for 1 is the score. Healy in typically vocal mood behind the stumps.
Yeah, there's always a fair bit of noise from Alyssa Healy. Sometimes it's a bit of conversation between batter and keeper, and sometimes it's just encouragement.
McGrath into bowl to Siver, looking to scoop the ball over the shoulder, doing so successfully. It might run down to the boundary. There's a chase on for King, who is going to get there. No. The ball just had enough on it, and Siver, with a smile on her face, punches gloves with Danielle Wyatt. And England moves to 141 for 1. Sibber on to 32.
And they keep manipulating the field really well here, England. Every time the fielder that's up, they're trying to go over the top. They're trying to put pressure on Australia. And they're doing a really good job of it. And it feels like even their miss hits, the ball's going in the air, all the luck is going their way because they're being prepared to take it on.
Sibber waits. Once again, it's full and bold. McGrath strikes back. Sibber goes for 32. It's been an enterprising, entertaining innings from Nat Sibber. But Talia McGrath gets the high fives from the teammates. And Australia can celebrate a second wicket. 141 on the board, 2 wickets down now.
Very good bowling from Talia McGrath. The slower balls are getting hit. The on-pace deliveries are getting hit. Keeping it as simple as putting it in the block hole. And that's a really good piece of bowling. And I'm sure they've all come in and they'll be having a quick chat about what the plans are going to be. And I think we'll see more deliveries try to, even if you're missing the Yorker, the low full toss is probably going to work out better for you than putting it on a length to Danny Wyatt. I think we're going to see her just take everything on.
So Heather Knight comes to the middle, the England skipper. Part of a very elite club of those that have scored centuries in all 3 formats. And so she joins the action pretty much in the perfect position. But there is a degree of jeopardy, Kristen, in the sense that when you've got this sort of start, you have no chance to take your time. You've got to just go.
And we've seen no one sort of be able to come out and just go right from the word go, but you'd expect the experience of Heather Knight. If anyone's going to be able to do that, it would be her. And she's had so much success in Australia on these pitches. She's been very good in the WBBL. So she'd feel quite comfortable to be out here in the middle on these kind of wickets and knows her game so well.
So McGrath with the ball in hand, having picked up a wicket. Knight on strike, right-hander, the England skipper. Very full once again and dug out just about towards backward point for a single. And the approach from Talia McGrath is a simple one.
Yeah, that worked. Let's keep doing that for as much as we can. And it's actually a really hard skill to do it, to get that many balls up there. But I'm sure they've identified that when they've tried to take the pace off, that it hasn't worked as well as they would have liked.
McGrath again, right arm over, bustling in once more, past umpire Polisak. Very full and bold. There's another. Full, straight, Wyatt's off stump out of the ground. She goes for 70. The change in tactics is yielding results for Australia. 3 for 142 is the score.
Very good piece of bowling. Disappointing for Danny Wyatt. She would have known that that was the plan. Just giving herself room. We've seen her do it time and time again. But this time, the delivery is perfect. And Talia McGrath has just swung this innings all around. And what can Australia keep England to it at this point? 2 new batters will be at the crease. And pressure back on England in this last few overs.
Wickets make such a difference in T20 cricket. Just in nullifying and slowing down that run rate. And as Wyatt walks off the field, 70 from 54. It's been an excellent innings. She may just feel that sense of regret that she's not gone on and pushed towards 100 and pushed England's total towards what could have been something really difficult and imposing for Australia. McGrath then, who still has an over to bowl after this, will be bowling to Amy Jones, the England keeper who's experienced campaigner now, playing her 65th T20 international. She's somebody that has struggled in previous matches against Australia. That was opening the batting in the last Ashes series. Comes to the middle with McGrath steaming in. It's full, driven. Nice piece of timing from Jones. Stopped though at mid-off by Jess Jonathan, and a doubly successful over comes to an end. 17 gone, 142 for 3. We say goodbye to Kristen Beams for the time being, and welcome back World Cup winner and Ashes campaigner here in Australia last time out, Alex Hartley. What do you make of the situation?
Well, not ideal that England have lost 2 quick wickets. The sort of one rule you have in T20 cricket is not having 2 new batters at the crease at any one time, but with the wicket falling of Nat Sibber and then Danny Wyatt shortly after, Talia McGrath has brought Australia back into this game.
By just a very simple plan.
The Yorker plan. Really effective delivery in T20 cricket.
And so we see Alana King on debut with the ball in hand. The cathedral end of the ground, the entire outfield now in shadow. A few of those climbers on the roof to our left as King is into bowl to Knight, clipping the ball into space on the leg side. Jones will push hard for the first run. Don't think there'll be a second one, and indeed not. So 1-4-3 for 3. Almost like a relay race after all of the twos that were pushed for. You got 2 fresh pairs of legs out there to really work those Aussie fielders hard, Alex.
We have Heather Knight. I think she's quicker between the wickets than she is, though. So Amy Jones will know that. Amy Jones will know when twos are, where they're not.
Jones on strike, King is in, and Jones clips that away firmly into the leg side, out towards deep mid-wicket. And Gardner, 1 run taken. England 1-4-4 for 3, so a sighter for both Knight and Jones. Streak of sunlight across that scoreboard in the distance, which reads 144 runs for England for the loss of 3 wickets. Knight on strike. Playing the reverse, doesn't get hold of it really, and Rachel Haynes will pick up at backward point.
Really impressed with Danny Wyatt today. Not normally a sweeper of the ball, but was able to manipulate the field by sweeping the ball past square leg.
King bowling to Knight, just dropping the ball into the leg side, wanting 2. Not sure there will be 2, and actually the decision in the end rather late and indecisive between Jones and Knight, and it is just that single. 1-4-5 for 3. Brian gets in touch from Tasmania. Hi team, loving the call. Interestingly, I've umpired Kristen, Mike Graham-Smith, who is our TV umpire today, and Tim Payne a number of times back in the day. Here comes King. 2 balls left to her spell. Jones with a reverse sweep will get 1 run if she's quick. Throw comes in. Healy demolishes the stumps like they've offended her. 146 for 3 is the score. 1 ball left of the 18th. And Brian says, just listen to the DRS. An appropriate, somewhat time-consuming decision. One day at North Hobart, I gave Tim Payne a caught behind. Post-match report complained I'd taken too long. As Tim walked past me, Mike asked, did you hit it? To which Tim replied, yeah, but I don't think he heard it. Anyway, such a pleasure to listen to you. Hit down the ground by Heather Knight. She'll pick up 1 run. Final ball of King's spell on debut. And pretty healthy return as well. 1 wicket taken, 28 runs conceded. England score 147 for 3. 2 overs left. Where can they get to, Alex Hartley?
They want at least 20 runs onto this target. They got themselves into a brilliant position so they can get up to that 170 mark. They'll give themselves best opportunity as possible, but healthy debut that for Alana King, breaking the opening partnership of Beaumont and Wyatt. 82 runs before that partnership was broken.
So Talia McGrath to bowl the penultimate over, having taken 2 in the previous one. Bowling a full delivery, which is dug out by Heather Knight into the offside. Work to do for Haynes, who picks up cleanly. 148 for 3. Pat listening in Wollongong. Yo, grandstand legends. Sophie Molyneux is noticeably absent, as she can usually keep it tight. What's the word on her? Well, a foot injury out for the series. I really tried to say yo, grandstand legends in a way that didn't make me sound like an embarrassing dad. Here comes McGrath bowling to Jones, and she tries to ramp the ball over her shoulder, misses everything, including Alyssa Healy, and it runs down to the boundary for 4 byes. Jones was playing a shot of sorts, but not one that I've ever seen.
But she's actually got right in the way of Alyssa Healy there, and Healy had no idea where the ball was. Talia McGrath just says, well, doesn't go against my bowling figures.
150 up for England, 152 for 3. So the answer, Sophie Molyneux out with a foot injury for the series. Big loss for Australia. Love watching her play. Here comes McGrath then. Steaming in once more from the river end. Giving herself some room. Amy Jones hits the ball into the leg side and will get 4. No, a brilliant piece of fielding out there in the deep. That really is fine work from Carey, running around from deep back with square leg, and it's just 2 runs. Moments like that can make a huge difference come the end of the game.
Good piece of fielding that from Carey as she runs round, picks the ball up cleanly, and as she knows she's going over the boundary, just flicks it back in and then goes to collect it. Good bit of fielding. The amount of times you practice that as well in training.
Fielders in the deep on the leg side as Jones wallops the ball out towards long on. Should be taken, and is. Easy catch. Jones goes for 4. Another wicket for McGrath. And it's Grace Harris back in the side for the first time in 6 years, who takes the simplest of catches in the deep. England won 5-4 for 4 with 8 balls left of the innings.
Can't blame Amy Jones for trying to hit sixes there, trying to find the boundary, get that England score as high as possible. But Tolly McGraw, she picks up her third. She's bowled fantastically, adjusted her bowling plans, which has been really clever bowling from her, and a simple catch taken from Grace Harris, who suits being back in Aussie colours.
She does, and gets the big high fives having taken that catch. Had quite a long time to think about it. Jones goes 4 from 6 as one of the newer representatives of this England side comes to the middle to the sounds of Led Zeppelin booming around the Adelaide Oval. Sophia Dunkley, who was not part of the Ashes series in 2017 here in Australia. She's a good player though, dangerous player across all formats. The right-hander waits. Keeper standing up to the stumps. It's full, driven out. Should be a single. Throw comes in. If it hits, there's trouble. It misses at the non-striker's end. It's that sort of chaotic time in a T20 innings where everything is scrambled for, and Dunkley gets through for 1. 155 for 4 is the score. England don't want to be in a position, Alex, where they've given themselves a brilliant start and then lose that feeling of momentum at the half-time point.
No, they don't. I think they're in a good position now, though, with just over and over to go.
McGrath bowling to Knight, slaps that ball out towards Jess Jonathan at mid-off, no run. End of the over, so 1 over left, 155 for 4 is the score. With Knight on 5, Dunkley on 1. They were, England, midway through the 17th over, 1-4-1 for 1 before this little flurry of wickets came along. And as we bring you this first T20 of the Women's Ashes live from Adelaide, regardless, even if the innings finish now, we've got a decent game in our hands.
We have definitely. England got off to an absolute flyer, underprepared going into this Ashes series due to COVID and restrictions, bubbles and safe living back at home before they flew out. And the schedule changed from starting with the Test match to starting with the T20s. But England have taken it on. And they look like they've had a 6-month worth of prep.
They look very relaxed. As Schutt comes in to bowl the final over, Dunkley whips the ball away off her pads out towards deep mid-wicket, turning for the second run. Should get it as well. Gardner throws, but nothing doing in terms of any danger of a run out. England 157 on the board, 4 wickets down. Fielders in the deep then. On the leg side, we've got deep backward square leg, deep mid-wicket and a long on. Short fine leg and everyone else packed inside the ring on the offside. Dunkley looking to drive down the ground and will get runs. There's a dive from mid-off, not successful. A couple should be taken as Grace Harris has quite a long chase round from long on to pick up. She does so. England 4 for 159.
Megan Schutt went for the Shearer then, stopping it with a right boot.
And
she missed it.
For listeners that may be wondering what on earth Alex is talking about, she's a position I'm very familiar with. In comes Schutt bowling. This is hit into the ground without a huge amount of timing from Dunkley. 1 run taken.
Surely everybody knows who Alan Shearer is.
160 on the board, 4 wickets down. Alan Shearer, former England footballer, played for Newcastle. And the Newcastle detail is crucial because Mark Wood, who was such a star in the Ashes men's series, in an ODI last summer, got in a bit of trouble with Owen Morgan. In comes Schutt bowling, and that's a loose delivery which is punished. 4 runs from the bat of Heather Knight. It was leg side-ish, it was a full toss, and as long as she got something on it, was always likely to clear that short fine leg fielder. And 4 runs tonight. England move forward to 160 for 4. And what happened was Wood was trying to kick down the stumps in his follow-through. Ball rolled to him, tried to kick it. Here comes Schutt. Bowling to Knight, clipping the ball up towards Grace Harris. And a single is taken. I should say that the scoreboard was a little slow there, so it is actually now 165 on the board for England with a ball left of the innings. Dunkley will face it. And as Mark Wood ran through, he shouted, "Shearer!" as if he was a commentator commentating on Alan Shearer from his hometown club, Newcastle. He missed the stumps. Was asked by Owen Morgan if it was strictly necessary. Here comes Schutt, final ball of the innings, hit through the offside and hit for 4. Good shot from Dunkley. Field up inside the circle. If she found the gap, she was finding 4. And the over and the innings concludes. 169 on the board as Knight and Dunkley run off with smiles on their faces, Alex Hartley.
And rightly so. Brilliant position for England women. Said if they could get right up to that 170, it's a very competitive score. We keep saying they've been underprepared for this Ashes series, but bar the first 2 overs, they haven't looked like that in the slightest.
So how's this scorecard played out? Well, Tammy Beaumont and Danny Wyatt put on a very good stand at the start. 82 runs it was worth after that slow start. We saw really gentle easing through the gears in the first 6 overs. First wicket to fall, Beaumont caught and bowled to give Alana King a wicket on debut for 30. Nat Siver then helped Danny Wyatt to progress that score forward to 141 for 1 before Siver was bowled by Talia McGrath, and Wyatt fell a couple of balls later. Siver for 32, Wyatt for 70. The final wicket to fall in the innings. Amy Jones caught in the deep off the bowling of McGrath by Grace Harris. In terms of the bowling, well, no question, standout figures. 4 overs, 3 for 26 for McGrath, and 1 wicket on debut. For 28 runs from her 4 overs for Alana King. Expensive spells from Carey and Jonathan, who bowled just 2 each, but were going at more than 10 and over. Megan Schutt bowled her 4, as did Taylor Blemenick, and conceded 28 and 29 runs respectively. So Australia will require 170 runs for victory. BBC listeners will stay here at the Adelaide Oval, but our ABC listeners can take the latest from the newsroom. And Alex Hartley still with me. With England's bowlers going through some warm-ups, are they favourites to win this game?
Ooh, can we say England are favourites after we've said they're not favourites the whole build-up to this Ashes series? But I'm going to take a U-turn. They are definitely favourites to win this game.
Well, our old friend, the wind predictor, something peculiar has happened to my phone. I think it might need upgrading or something, because suddenly it's got more blue than it's got yellow for the first time in the last 6 weeks, which seems a very peculiar state of affairs. It's got England at 75%, Alex.
And the win viz is done by stats, players, and you know, it's all the things that we don't know about.
What annoys me is when people criticise WinViz and they say, well, you only gave Australia 23% chance to win and they won. Well, it's still a chance. But England, what it tells us is that England are in a really healthy position in this game.
Yeah,
that is encouraging from their point of view.
Really encouraging. They've got, you know, the world's best T20 bowler in Sophia Eccleston. I think Sarah Glenn could be number 2 or 3 in that ranking as well. The best all-rounder in the world in Nat Siver. So they've got a really strong bowling attack. Catherine Brunt, who's played number of games for England, one of the most capped players for England, so they are in a really, really healthy position. Talia McGrath brought Australia back into the game, but England will be happy with the score they've got on the board.
And in terms of how they approach this Australia as an attack early doors, they've got to go hard in the power play.
Yeah, take advantage of that 6-over power play. Healy at the top of the order does that religiously. You know, she's an unbelievable player and really can take bowlers down. Obviously, a huge blow not having Beth Mooney for Australia. She's been fantastic over the years. So Australia have had to rejig the batting order a little bit, with Meg Lanning now opening the batting. But Grace Harris, if needed, can come in at any point, and she's a really powerful player.
Yeah, dangerous cricketer. Has hit a lot of runs in the Women's Big Bash League. Queenslander with a lot of force. And England will be very wary of that. The highest first innings total Australia women have conceded in a T20 international. 170 would be the 5th highest successful chase in a women's T20 international. Thank you, Hypercaust, on Twitter for that. That tells its own story, Alex.
That does indeed. So no wonder that win viz for England is so high, that percentage chance of winning. But Australia have got, you know, they've got a point to prove as well. Everybody wants to win this first game of the series. Nobody wants to be the team that loses, going into the second game under the pump, bit of pressure to win. So Australia, they have to take advantage of the power play, and they've got a very powerful batting lineup. You know, Carey down in the middle order, Ash Gardner. I remember when she took England apart in one of the ODIs in 2017 during the Ashes series. Catherine Brunt just kept bowling shorter and quicker, and Gardner kept hitting it further and further. So the batting is there for Australia, but England have got a very good bowling attack.
Indeed. A very good morning to Stephen Gardner, who says, good to have Test match special at breakfast and England cricket doing well. David Edwards using the hashtag BBC Cricket. Tammy Beaumont talked yesterday about the team having to prepare at home, practicing with family members. Makes some sense that Nat Siver was timing it well. She's got Catherine Brunt to do the throwdowns, which is a good point.
That's a very good point.
I hadn't actually considered that, but they're perfectly suited to preparate. You wouldn't want to necessarily do any sort of bouncing, though, would you? You wouldn't. There might, if you had a net at the back garden, you'd bowl full, I think, wouldn't you?
Bowl full. Well, I think that's everyone likes to bowl full at Nat Siver early on in her innings anyway, so she'll have been working on that. But yes, you are right. Nat Siver and Catherine Brunt, probably the only two that have been able to prepare properly for this Ashes series.
And it's been a repeated story that both Australia and England, be it the men's or women's Ashes series, have had challenging build-ups to it, and it's interesting to see which sides can cope with it best. And it'll be fascinating to see how Australia go about this run chase. They do so without Beth Mooney, who misses the game with a fractured jaw, and so the opening partnership, well, it's not a bad one, Alyssa Healy and Meg Lanning, and few who were there or saw it on television or heard it on the radio will forget Meg Lanning's scintillating 100 at Chelmsford in the last Women's Ashes series in 2019. It was one of the best T20 innings that I've seen, and she's not a bad replacement at the top of the order.
No, she is. She's a good replacement at the top of the order. So experienced, so skilled as well. Has got her weaknesses, as does everybody. But, you know, Australia they'll be feeling very confident having Meg Lanning as Beth Mooney's replacement.
So Lanning and Healy will be heading to the middle in not too distant future. I can see England's bowling unit out there going through their various drills. Sophie Eccleston, who always walks with a bit of a swagger, is marching back towards the dugouts. We've got Heather Knight, the England captain, who bowls off breaks. Nat Siver out there, who's a useful bowler in terms of economy. So that'll be the main job for her. The heavy roller is trundling up and down in front of us, and the sun is beginning to set here in Adelaide, where we've had a lovely couple of days, Alex, so far, or a day and a half.
It's been lovely. When I first got to Australia, you know, going to the other side of the world, in the sunshine, best job in the world. But today has been only my second day of sunshine. So Sydney, well, the test match was interrupted because of the rain, and then in Hobart, it was cold. It was jumper weather, jeans and a jumper weather. So it's nice to be here, dress on, had a little chilled afternoon, got ourselves ready for this opening game.
We did, had a little walk around the Botanic Gardens.
We did. I actually once called them, I thought they were called the Balsamic Gardens. To which I was telling you earlier and Kate Cross earlier that my mum and dad were like, the balsamic, they don't make vinegar there, Alex. It's the Botanic Gardens.
Alex, you never cease to amaze me.
No. It's the first time I've ever heard of a garden called that.
Botanic Garden?
Yeah.
Oh, you've got them all over. Yeah, it's a lovely spot. All the tropical plants and things. We had a little wander through. Well, lovely to see.
Yeah,
coffee.
One of my favourite things to do now is go look through all the gardens.
Yeah. Oh, which your favourite? Do you like a vinaigrette garden as well? A Caesar garden? What's your favourite?
I do like the balsamic ones.
Do
you? They're in my heart.
I'm so pleased. Yes. I suggest maybe South Australia's tourist board won't be contacting you anytime soon, Al, for suggestions of any reviews for the local amenities. But it's a wonderful city, Adelaide. We're so lucky to be here. We've got this fabulous ground in front of us, the chapel stand over to the left. We've got the dugouts and dressing rooms just a little bit further round. It's sort of a big bowl, but with an exposed end at the far end. It's kind of like a horseshoe, the ground, really. There's that famous old scoreboard. We've got the big trees in the distance. We can see over there, far yonder, just a few spires poking out. And it is absolutely perfect weather for cricket.
It's been warm today. The next two games played in the middle of the day as well, so England won't be used to this warm weather, but, you know, they travel the world now, so it won't bother them.
No, it's certainly one of the great venues of world cricket, and we've got potentially quite a lively game here, Alex, with 170 as a target for Australia. That is not going to be easy to chase down. Whoever wins this game is going to get a real boost. If Australia can chase it, we know it'll be the 5th highest run chase in a women's T20 international. If Australia chase it, that could be quite alarming from an England point of view.
It can, and I think that will show that the bowlers undercooked going into this series without the prep that they wanted. But they've got themselves into the perfect position. They had the perfect start with the opening stand between Danny Wyatt and Tammy Beaumont. Danny Wyatt was hitting the ball so cleanly. It was actually interesting to see when her innings flipped, when Jess Jonathan came onto bowl and she just hit her down the ground over the top nicely a couple of times in a row. She couldn't quite get bat on ball against the quick Blemenick. So that will be something she's working on for the next game. And with England struggling against the quick, it wouldn't surprise me if they then play Darcy Brown in the next game, because she's also a quick bowler that bowls up at that 120 kilometres per hour. But that's just an early inkling towards the next game if Australia do lose this one.
It's one of the most thrilling things whatever cricket watching be T20 Test, One Day International. Fast bowling is always exciting, and watching Taylor Blemenick bowling earlier was really thrilling because she was beating them out with genuine pace. It was proper fiery stuff.
She was, and second ball of her spell, as they say in cricket, was an absolute seed. Quick, nip, swinging in, nipped away. I mean, basically unplayable from Blemenick, and it was really exciting to see. I want to see more fast bowling in the women's game. In Australia, they are producing the quicks.
Well, this is a point that exists across, regardless of what cricket you're talking about, whether it be men's or women's cricket. In Australia, the quick bouncy pitches makes sense to have bowlers that can bowl fast, and in England, there are a few young bowlers that are starting to come through. Izzy Wong, Lauren Bell, who do crank that speed gun up quite a bit, but you need the surfaces to make it worth their while.
Yeah, well, you get the surfaces out here in Australia, you get the weather 24/7. In England, unfortunately, we don't quite have that, but we have got younger bowlers on the England programmes that will be quick in a few years. You know, Izzy Wong bowls up and around 70 miles per hour, but I think Australia are leading the front when it comes to the bowling cartel, as they like to call them over here in Australia.
Yes, I'm not sure how comfortable I am with the phrase, really. You don't like it, I know.
No, I think it's a stinker, but sometimes you just got to go with it.
The bowling cartel, who now have been listed on the Australian women's team's social media as the bowling cartel, like the men's team do.
Yeah, I think it's just let's try and intimidate England a little bit. I was just cleaning my trainer there while I was leaning in towards your face.
What are you doing?
Well, I had a bit of dirt on the top of my shoe, so I thought I'd just scrape it off.
Well, thank you for that, Alex.
You're welcome. For everyone out there, I'm sure you wanted to know.
Out in the middle, the scene is empty because the players are about to come back out there. The floodlights are shining now. The artificial light has replaced the natural light. And here come the umpires. Bruce Oxenford, complete with that shield that looks like the Starship Enterprise that he uses to protect himself should the ball come flying back at him. I'm surprised that's not caught on a little bit more. He's alongside Claire Polisak. We do have DRS available in this series. Mike Graham-Smith is our third umpire. And so, though it is a small thing, DRS being available for the first time in a Women's Ashes series is a very important thing, because it just reminds us, a significant reminder of the way the women's game is moving ever forward. The fireworks going up on our right, and the players running to the middle here at the Adelaide Oval. Welcome back to listeners on ABC as we see the two sides heading to the middle. The fireworks going up once again, and quite a task in front of Australia. They've got a target that will not be easy to chase down. We've learnt during the interval it'll be the 5th highest run chase in the history of women's T20 international cricket. 170 is their target. The vastly experienced pair of Alyssa Healy and Meg Lanning stride to the middle, with the sparks flying to our right. And to my left, Kristen Beams back with us. And where do you see this game? How confident are you for an Aussie run chase?
Well, I think 160's par, so I think they're above par. So for me, England are favourites coming into this second innings. But it's going to be all about the power play. We saw England a little bit slow to get going in the power play, and then once they got themselves in, they were really able to accelerate. So Australia's ability to take on the English bowlers right from the word go is going to be key for their run chase. And then from an England point of view, it's all about KB26. It's all about Catherine Brunt. I think if she can get the breakthrough, the aggression, the passion, I absolutely adore Catherine Brunt. I think she's so great for the game. And if she can get a breakthrough early, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the top order of Australia.
Well, she's at the end of her mark at the cathedral end of the ground, Catherine Brunt. Hugely experienced. She's approaching 100 T20 internationals. And 100 T20 wickets to boot, and she is the sort of player who acts as a little bit of a barometer for this England side. If she's going well as a frontline bowler, it tends to lead, drag everyone along with her. And I imagine, not having faced Catherine, Krista, I imagine she's quite a frightening competitor.
Yeah, she's definitely on your list of players that you'd rather be on a team with than play against. And I think for Australia over such a long period of time, the measure is your ability to take on Catherine Brunt successfully. And we haven't seen a lot of players over the journey do that because of just she's world class. She's able to swing the ball. She comes in, she's in your face. She's very Catherine Fitzpatrick-like.
And she's at the end of her mark, running into bowl the first ball of this run chase that sees Meg Lanning, the Australia captain, nudging into the leg side, out towards Natalie Siver, and a dot ball to start. 170 needed from 119 balls. That's the equation for Australia to take a 2-0 lead in this multi-format series. Just a reminder of how it all works. 3 formats, 2 points each available for the white ball games, and 4 points up for grabs in the test match. Here comes Brunt, right arm over from the far end. And this time there will be a run for Lanning, playing in front of the pads, out towards Maya Bouchier, running in from deep mid-wicket. And the score, 1 without loss.
I love that Meg Lanning's opening the batting and that she took the first ball. I think it just shows where she's at as a captain, saying, you know what, I'm going to take it on. I'm going to be the one to step up and fill the void left by Beth Mooney. And I think it's a good move. High score is 133. We know she can make big hundreds, and she's got a great record. She's just, I think through just the players that have come in, has found herself nearly as low as 4, and that seems a little low for somebody who's world class.
Similarly, Alyssa Healy on strike. Right-hander waiting for Catherine Brunt, who's in now. Down the leg side with just a little bit of a tickle down towards the fine leg boundary. I think that was off the face of the bat, it was. So 4 runs as Brunt loses her line. And smiles for Healy and Lanning. Australia 5 without loss.
Oh, they've got away with one there, I think. Thick enough down the leg side, but Amy Jones is an outstanding keeper and perhaps the best keeper in the world, I think. I think she's got outstanding hands. She's so fast. If anyone was going to catch that, it was Amy Jones.
Well, probably between these two, Healy and Jones. I remember in the last Ashes series over here, Alyssa Healy proclaimed herself the best keeper in the world ahead of the final T20 at Canberra, and the wheels fell off quite spectacularly. She's on strike now on 4, and defending into the leg side. Sivers quickly in from mid-wicket, and there is no run. She had one of those nights that all keepers have them, where you keep having skiers coming up and you just think there is not a chance this is being taken. Something goes wrong. The gloves get holes in them and everything goes horribly
It was
wrong.
the under lights game, wasn't it? And now every time she takes a catch, when it's a day-night game, she'll always be killing herself laughing because she knows she doesn't take very many of those catches.
Right, okay. Here comes Brunt into bowl to Healy, defending into the offside this time. Well, Amy Jones had a very similar night against West Indies a couple of years ago, where everything kept on going up and everything kept going down, and it's just one of those that happens to keepers, and it's a horrible place to be.
Yeah, I think it's hard being a keeper as well because you make the assumption as a player, as a spectator, that it should be easier. You've got gloves on. You shouldn't actually drop them ever. So we're a little bit hard on the keepers sometimes, I think.
But they've got gloves on, Kristen.
Well, keepers are your best friend as a spin bowler.
Here comes Brunt then. Final ball of the over. Sees Healy defending. There's a roar of aggression from Brunt. The over concludes. The target 170. Australia 5 without loss after 1. So 165 needed from 114. Who are we going to see bowling this second over? That's the question. It might be Siver, who has been quite a reliable bowler for England early on in innings just to dry up the run scoring, or it could be Sophie Eccleston, left arm spin. Interesting approach this from England.
Good move. Here she's been in very good form. Took 7 wickets in their practice match in the lead in, and we didn't see Australia go to spin straight away in Jess Jonathan, and I wonder whether that's something that England have identified. And Sophia Eccleston's very different to Jess Jonathan. She's got more height, so she actually bowls into it. She naturally has a tougher length. She hits high on the bat. And when you've got runs on the board, I think you can ask that question of the Australian batters to say, well, are you prepared to take me on in this power play?
World's #1 T20 bowler, Eccleston tosses it up, an outside edge, a little bit fortunate for Meg Lanning. It'll run down towards the deep third boundary. In pursuit is Freya Davis, but the ball will win the race. 4 runs to start the second over. Australia 9 without loss, chasing 170.
That's a heartbreak. The wicket's good, flies off in the outfield. There's no slip in play. It wouldn't have gone to a slip anyway, gone very wide. That's a bit of luck for the Australian skipper.
It was a big booming drive from Meg Lanning. Eccleston round the wicket once again. Tossing that ball up, driven out towards deep cover where there is protection in the form of Maya Bouchier, who's a good fielder. Another name that might be unfamiliar to listeners in Australia. She's played extensively across the domestic leagues in England, in the Kia Super League and in the 100 competition. And made her England debut in the summer. We've got long off and deep mid-wicket out with Healy on strike on 4. Eccleston is in. It's on the pads, clipped out towards deep mid-wicket where Wyatt will sprint in from the boundary. 1 run taken. 11 without loss to score.
And I think it's a good matchup, the Lanning v Eccleston. I think with the ball going away, Meg likes to play through that offside. I think against Healy, it'll be a bit more of a challenge for Australia.
Eccleston with the sunblock across the face, tosses that ball up, defended very watchfully by Lanning into the offside, and there is no run.
Is she a bit worried about getting sunburnt through the lights?
Oh, it's one of those superstitions. I think Elise Perry does it as well, isn't she? It's one of those where once you've started doing it and you've had a good day, then you kind of have to stick with it. In comes Eccleston once more. And forward very correctly. Lanning pushes up as far as mid-off and Dunkley. So 1 ball left of the second over. 11 without loss, Australia.
I do love the superstitions. Cricketers are so funny.
It was a huge disappointment for me at Hobart on the superstition front. Here comes Eccleston, dropping a little bit short, whipped round the corner for a single. Throw comes in, could be trouble, no. Good running from Healy from the non-striker's end. Sarah Glenn, the fielder, at short fine leg. And 2 overs gone. 12 without loss, 158 needed from 108 deliveries. So, Rory Burns, who had an interesting series.
I know exactly where you're going. I can't wait.
From England's perspective, I wasn't actually expecting the series to go downhill from that first ball at Brisbane, but there were moments when I felt that it might have done. And in the final innings that he played, he let it all hang out. The hair was flowing down his back. He ran out looking like an extra from a Viking movie. It was sensational. And then he didn't get enough runs to keep it. I don't think he scored enough to make that decision.
So you think it's gone straight away?
I don't think it wasn't enough of an improvement to see him keep it.
I liked it as well. I'm a fan. Maybe through social media people petition. Let it flow.
I'd love to see it. Here comes Nat Siver then from the far end of the ground. Bowling on middle stump, wicket to wicket. Lanning clips the ball up towards Eccleston at mid-on. What were your superstitions as a player, Chris?
I never had any because I was always like, I'm not going to be one of those players because I played a lot of cricket with Meg Lanning who had so many different superstitions, and I always thought to myself, that seems like a lot of work.
Siver in, whipped into the leg side, into space. Bouchier is going to sprint round from deep square leg. A combination of she and Brunt combined to prevent the 3rd run, but 2 are taken, 14 without loss.
Because you look at a player like Meg Lanning, she has to scratch the wicket where centre, she marks centre, she does it 3 times every time. She has to sit in the corner in the change room, so she has to take a corner spot. She doesn't do it anymore, but she used to have the same breakfast cereal every day that she played, and she doesn't eat duck the night before a game.
In comes Siver, dropping it short, and it's punished. Walloped into the leg side. Pulled away, and I'm afraid it rather ballooned up invitingly towards Meg Lanning to give it the treatment. And she does just that, 18 without loss. It's a lovely shot from the Australian captain.
Yeah, great shot. Just sat up, and that's the difference in pace that we see between the two teams. Taylor Blemenick, that ball really kicking off the surface at good pace. But Natalie Siver just sitting up in the wicket, and that's very easy for Meg Lanning to get her hands through the ball.
I'm not sure Siva would be advised to try that again necessarily. She's moving into bowl. Field remains the same. It is a bit short and it is hit away into the leg side. Should be 4 more, I fancy. There's work to do for Bouchier, who's sprinting for all she's worth, dives and does well. Loses the majority of the headwear as she gets there. Hat, glasses. And more runs taken. I think there are 3 added there. 21 without loss is the score.
And it's a big pocket out there. We saw England expose the Australian boundary riders a few times by being able to get 2s, and it becomes a bit of a question about whether you come in 5 or 10 metres off that boundary. But the way that England were going about it, they needed to sit on the boundary, meaning it was a little bit easy to pick up 2s and 3s.
2 in the deep on the leg side as Healy drops the ball towards mid-wicket, gets 1 run. 170 is the target. Australia with a really good start here. They need 148 from 103. 22 without loss is the score. An anonymous message on the text. Why is the wicket keeping not up to scratch by the Australian women's team's keeper? Australian fielding, very average. Poor throwing. Healy's glove work, very poor. 2 out of 10.
Boom, that was... Didn't hold back on that one.
Say what you really think. Here comes Siva. Outside the off stump, cut away well. It should be cut off in the deep by Sarah Glenn, who slides running around from deep third, but a couple of runs are taken. Now, that's pretty brutal stuff.
People have been brutal on the text so far, Henry. They've been going hard at it. Well, I think for a lot of these players, we've talked about interrupted preparation. They haven't had as much cricket as they would have liked, whether that's a factor in it being really just a little bit clunky. That would be the best way I would just describe it. We haven't seen both teams field yet, so I'll reserve my judgment until we get to the end.
It's funny with criticism. It's one of those things where I remember the first game of the Women's T20 World Cup in Australia in 2020, which feels both like yesterday and about 1 million years ago.
Correct.
Eccleston's going to continue from in front of us. The first game that Australia lost in Sydney to India, I remember being really struck by genuine anger from Australian fans at the defeat. And it's told me 2 things. Here comes Eccleston around the wicket, forward in defence is Healy. And that was that people were engaging, and it wasn't just, oh, isn't it nice that the women's team are playing, we'll go along. Yep. People really cared and were annoyed. And that, it seems an odd thing to say, but it felt like a positive.
Yep.
Eccleston, again, tossing that ball up, whipped into the leg side for 1. It'll just be that single, 25 without loss. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, and Elise Perry has spoken about it a little bit in saying that they nearly welcome the criticism in the media around their performance when it's warranted, because that's where the game has got to. More people are watching it. It matters more, and as players, they should be critiqued.
Eccleston in, playing from the top of the stumps. Lanning cuts that ball hard towards Beaumont at backward point. One of those where you're waiting for the zing bails to light up.
And I think that has been a shift in the women's game, going away from being like, oh, it was a good effort by everyone, to actually that wasn't up to scratch, or that wasn't the performance.
Eccleston in the long sleeves, bowling, dropping into the offside. Jones will pick up and sling the ball at the non-striker's end, but misses, and a good single is taken. 26 without loss.
Good single that. Even though this is a new combination for Australia, these two would have played a lot of cricket together. When you both go, it becomes pretty easy.
Message from Kay in hot and sunny Western Australia. Hello to the BBC listeners. Thank you, Kay. Here comes Eccleston, tossing that ball up, hit hard towards mid-wicket and taken. It was very low, but Siva takes the catch, and the big wicket of Alyssa Healy falls. Just for a moment, everybody froze, waiting to see if Siva would toss that ball in the air in celebration. She does just that, cueing a celebration for those in red. And a rather disgruntled trudge off the field for Healy. Australia 1 for 26, needing a further 144 from 97.
She really wanted to move the game forward. Alyssa Healy hasn't been as free-flowing as we've seen her in the past. And that's an extremely good catch from Natalie Siva. Low down, gets both hands to it. And Eccleston, who's been identified as one of the key bowlers for England, strikes early. Great length from her. And it's put Australia under pressure.
Talia McGrath took 3 wickets with the ball, comes to the middle at 3 in this reshuffled Australian batting lineup, necessitated by the absence of Beth Mooney. She's a serious, proper all-rounder, Talia McGrath, these days. It's no longer that raw player we saw 4 years ago. She's one, she, if not already, is going to be one of the game's best.
Yeah, she really is, and they've identified her from a long time ago, and she's had some problems with injury, which has meant that she's had to play as a batter domestically for a while, and she's now got herself really fit, and it was a real breakout series for Talia McGrath, and it's a great move to see her batting at 3. This is the future of the Australian team here. It would be easier to go with experienced options in at 3. You could have looked at Gardner or Haynes, but I think it's a good, brave move.
McGrath, right-hander, waits and plays the ball back towards Eccleston on the bounce. Required rate stands at 9 runs per over. End of the over, 26 on the board, 1 wicket down. Eccleston's bowled 2 of her allotted 4. Got 2 overs left of the power play as Meg Lanning has a quick chat with McGrath in the middle. And Australia in an okay position, but a little bit of a dip in that over that will, of course, the wicket, that will just potentially see a few nerves coming in.
Yeah, they would have liked to get through the power play without losing wickets, but generally teams will talk about it's 2 wickets is kind of okay in a power play. Once you lose 3 wickets, it becomes more and more difficult. But for England, with runs on the board, it feels like any wicket is going to put pressure on here, and Freya Davies comes into the attack, and she might be the kind of player that they might identify as somebody they can go after, knowing how good Eccleston is in the power play. Catherine Brunt, Natalie Siver, there's some really good experience for England in their power play, and this might be the over that Meg Lanning tries to push it forward.
Big smile on the face of Freya Davies, who at the far end of the ground will be bowling to Meg Lanning, Australia's skipper. She runs in right arm over, seam bowler, is driven into the offside. That's a good stop from Beaumont at backward point, or half stop, a single is taken. And McGrath will be on strike. Talia McGrath, who scored over 300 runs in the recent WBBL series, averaging over 40. So those that may be thinking, well, hold on a minute, what's she doing at 3? Well, that's why. She's a good nick. She's a good option to come in at 3. Now another message in. Craig gets in touch. These people messaging in, bagging out at our women's team should hold their heads in shame. Our girls are the best in the world. Bowled by Davis, whipped away off the hips down towards deep backward square leg. Boucher will get round, but not prevent the second run. So 3 from the first couple of balls of the over. 29 on the board, 1 wicket down. Australia looking for 170. Another message in. Good evening. I would like to know if Beamsy thinks the Women's Ashes should be a test series or mixed multi-format series, from Skip in Sydney.
I'm happy with multi-format series, but I would like to see all countries playing a multi-format series.
McGrath on strike, plays the ball back past Davis. Work to do at mid-off. Successfully stopped as the ball squirms away from Catherine Brunt, but she does manage to pick it up. And the score moves to 1 for 30, 140 needed from 93.
I think it's the big opportunity for world cricket in developing more nations to play Test cricket. If they can commit to that, we see generally in a series 3 ODIs for the ICC Women's Championships.
Davis bounding in, high knees, right arm over, and bowling very full, defended by Lanning out towards mid-off.
And then we see most countries then, to make it worthwhile, you're already in another country anyway, that we generally see teams will play 3 T20s. So the addition of a test match wouldn't be too big a stretch to add it in. I'd like to see the ICC push it as a format, but maybe split it in terms of which countries play tests against each other. But I think that'd be a great way to increase the number of test matches we see in international cricket.
In comes Davis, right arm over. It's defended into the offside, but this time into space, and enough space for a single to be taken. Good running once more. 1 for 31 is the score. Now, those test matches that have been played in the last 12 months involving India as well have been brilliant occasions. They've been such good fun. And we've had a real sense that having sort of been jettisoned red ball cricket in the women's game, actually has a real future and has some really fun competition to be had. Davis at the end of her mark then, ready to come roaring in once more. The ball to Talia McGrath, it's full and it's mistimed off the toe end of the bat, out towards long on. So just the 6 runs from the over, 32 on the board, 1 wicket down, that of Alyssa Healy for 7. And Dancing Queen comes on around the Adelaide Oval. Andrew Moore will be with us in a moment, but he's dancing, everybody, he's dancing. Let's get the latest from the Australian Open with Matt Clinch.
Henry, rather fitting. We're into the third set where it's on serve. Kyrgios trays 1-2, but it was a double fault at the end of the second set that allowed the second set Russian Daniil Medvedev to take it 6-4 after taking the first 6-7. Meanwhile, on Margaret Court Arena, the US Open champion Emma Raducanu has fought back. It's 1-all against Covenage. Back to Andrew Moore.
Thank you, Clinchy. Thank you, Henry. And Catherine Brunt back into the attack. The senior member of this English bowling lineup. And Australia, after 5 overs, 1 for 32. At the same stage, England was none for 44, just by contrast. And it will be Talia McGrath on strike. The short third, backward point, point cover, mid off, mid on, deep mid wicket, deep backward square, short fine leg, and this one is cut away. Backward a point for 4. It was almost a long hop from Catherine Brunt. And McGrath just rocked back. Plenty of room there. Freya Davis the chase, but it was fruitless. So a boundary to McGrath. She's 8. And Australia 1 for 36 in the 6th. Bit of a warm-up there from Catherine Brunt.
Yeah, you can't hang it out wide outside of the off stump with no third in play. There's enough pace on the ball from Catherine Brunt that becomes pretty easy to get it down to the boundary, and it's a great start in the over for Australia.
Lanning very still at the crease, taps the bat a couple of times. Brunt bowls rather McGrath on strike, and it's a diving save in the cover to prevent a run. From the English captain, Heather Knight, score remains 1 for 36. McGrath 8, Meg Lanning 21. Sophie Eccleston, her figures through, she's only 22, are remarkable. What she's done for England since coming into this side a few years ago is just take wickets, especially with the white ball.
She's amazing. It's just the length she bowls. It's so hard to play.
68 wickets now in a 49th game. As Brunt bowls to McGrath. Slower ball and it's on the full toss. And whipped away through square leg. May be able to get 2. Has 1. Coming back for the second now on the throw from Danny White. And there's an easy 2. McGrath into double figures. She's 10. 1 for 38 in the 6th over. But Eccleston, 49th T20 international. 67 wickets at an average of under 16. Best of 4 for 18 against New Zealand. Career economy rate under 6. It's her 13th game against Australia now, her 16th wicket. Her 12th game in Australia, and that's her 18th wicket. Brunt bowls to McGrath, another slower ball, and it's a wide unless it took the pad. May have touched the pad on the way through to Amy Jones. So no wide. Talia McGrath looks on ruefully. Score remains 1 for 38. Australia needs to score at 9.21 and over from here.
Oh, I love that. Catherine Brunt did that. Oh, yeah, that hit the pad. That was thereabouts. Missed the pad, but that's great foxing, and you expect nothing less from an experienced player to talk the umpire into not giving that a wide.
Brunt on away from this, the City end bowls. McGrath gives herself room and clubs it wide a bit on, and it'll race away for another boundary. McGrath placed that beautifully in the end to move to 14, and Australia 1 for 42 now as the run rate climbing here in the last over of the power play. In fact, there's 1 ball left.
And that's why Talia McGrath is batting at 3. She's going to play that role to try and take it on. She wasn't to the pitch of that delivery, but a premeditated shot. She wanted to try and hit that pocket between the mid-on and mid-wicket, and did it successfully. And she needs to keep taking on the bowling, allow Meg Lanning to just play cricket shots.
Last ball of the power play, it's Brunt on away. Bowls to McGrath, and this is played away to cover. Can't get a run. So a good end to the over as Bouchier does the fielding, but a productive one for Australia. There were 10 off after 6 overs. Australia 1 for 42, needing 170 to win, with Lanning on 21 off 17, McGrath 14 off 10, Catherine Brunt 2 overs, none for 15. So 1 for 42. England was no wicket for 51 at the end of its power play. Kristen Beams makes way for Alex Hartley. Alex, you declared definitively at the break of innings that England was now firm favourite.
Yep.
1 for 42 after 6. Where do you currently stand?
Still stand.
Firm.
I think as soon as England can get that run rate and try and push it up above 10s for as long as possible, they give themselves the strongest chance of winning this game. And they've just got a relentless bowling attack, England. And I think going into this series, you looked at where their weaknesses were, and it was more in the batting rather than the bowling. The bowling department's been fantastic.
I love their spinners. Sarah Glenn, speaking of which, the leggy's coming on, and
An average of 14.
it's ridiculous. She's in bowling from the Cathedral and cut missed by Lanning, taken well by Amy Jones. As she came over, I think when she first toured Australia a couple of seasons ago, she'd just come off a series for England in Malaysia where she had opened some eyes. And like Eccleston, has done nothing but take wickets. Very straight approach. Past umpire Oxenford. Down the track comes Lanning. Can't beat cover. Ball fielded. No run. As Heather Knight picks up, score remains 1 for 42. What is it about Sarah Glenn that you like?
Well, she's not a massive turner of the ball, so your typical leg spinner would turn the ball, but she bowls these little top spinners that sometimes skid on and sometimes stick in the pitch.
22-year-old bowls and squeezed down brilliantly by Meg Lanning, running it down to third. That will go for 4. Well, a diving save. And that was really well done in the end by Freya Davis. They're coming back for an ambitious third and they make it. That was great running primarily from Talia McGrath, who really pushed a captain through. Good cricket all round. Good save in the outfield by Freya Davis. Great shot by Meg Lanning. And great running by Talia McGrath. 3 for Lanning. She's 24. 1 for 45 in the 7th.
And sometimes the ball gets stuck in the pitch, but quite often she just skids the ball on and it hurries the batters. So when they're thinking the ball's slightly back of a length, batters go back to cut it, as we saw with that first delivery from Meg Lanning. It rushes the batter.
Sarah Glenn only 22, 25th T20 international, as she bowls to McGrath, who's back cutting, can't beat Fred Davis. They'll get a run though as Davis parries it away to Tammy Beaumont. High and hard return, not gloved by Jones, but they're always through for the single. McGrath 15, 1 for 46 in the 7th over. 33 wickets in her previous 24 games, an average of 14.06. Best bowling of 3 for 15 against Pakistan, and her economy rate 5.82. In she comes bowling to Lanning, who came down the pitch, cut and I thought missed. Goes off the gloves of Amy Jones down to short third and Freya Davis. Or did she get an edge? No, she got an edge.
Oh.
So does that go down as a drop catch on Meg Lanning? It does. It was almost straight into her gloves.
She didn't hit it. I don't think she hit that.
Meg Lanning credited with a run. She moves to 25, 1 for 47. Glenn bowls well flighted down the track. McGrath clubs it past cover and Heather Knight for 4. Slightly over pitch because the feet were used brilliantly by McGrath. Very clean striker of the cricket ball. She's 19, and at the end of the over, started very well for Sarah Glenn, but in the end, 9 runs off. Australia 1 for 51. 25 Lanning, McGrath 19. And at the same stage, England was none for 62. The target 170, Alex Hartley.
Good that from Talia McGrath as well. Taking a risk, coming down the pitch, using her feet, hitting the ball through extra cover to get that run rate up to 9s, which is what's required for Australia.
So 9 off that. There was 10 off the previous over by Catherine Brunt. And now Heather Knight is turning to a champion all-rounder, Nat Siver, who was a bit wayward in her first over, cost 7 runs. In fact, Nat Siver ended up bowling the 3rd over of the game, went for 12 runs, I should say. Didn't get a length right. And now we have a deep backward square, deep square leg, mid-wicket, mid-on, mid-off, extra cover, deep cover, point, and a deep third as she's a straight delivery. Tip and run from Lanning. Square on the offside to Tammy Beaumont. Nice throw down to the non-striker's end. She misses, and Lanning had comfortably made her ground to move to 26. 1 for 52 or 52 for 1 in the 8th over.
Whichever way around you say it.
Take your pick. That's the beauty of broadcasting to Australia and England at the same time.
What a mix.
Give it 1 of each. So now Siver bowling to McGrath, who's finding the middle of the bat. This time swing struck on the patch. Out Claire Polisak, who doesn't give a lot of LBW, says no. And now there'll be a discussion about whether to go to the DRS as the batters cross for a run. So the umpires ruled there was some bat on that from Talia McGrath to take her to 20 and the score along to 1 for 53 in the 8th.
Some bat on that. I think if there wasn't any bat involved, it'd have been very close. But maybe just a little tickle onto her thigh pad. Didn't look like there was any bat involved from the naked eye.
It was one of those that looked absolutely out live, and we're miles away. But inside edge, and that they don't go to the DRS. So now Siva is bowling to Lanning, pulled away with some ferocity down towards deep mid wicket. Will only get a run as the return comes in from Brunt. So one more. Australia in the 8th over move along to 1 for 54. Lanning 27, Talia McGrath 20 off 13 back on strike.
Well, Talia McGrath's game has changed drastically over the last couple of years. She came over to England for the KSL a few years ago, and she was quite a raw talent. But since then, she's become the captain of her WBBL side.
As she's on the pull stroke here, but there's protection. Is there deep square leg? Moving to her right and picking it up is Catherine Brunt, still moving rather well for the veteran. And it keeps it to a run. 1 for 55, McGrath up to 21. And she's rather quiet. Just having a look at the close in on that last LBW shout, whether it hit the bat or not. They're saying that may have almost been high. Umpire's call. Siva bowls now to Lanning, who pulls it, doesn't time it, almost onto the body through square leg. A long chase there for Danny White. They keep it to a run, and it's another single. Meg Lanning 28, 1 for 56. One ball left in the 8th over. The target for Australia is 170 after England managed 4 for 169. Some fielding changes now. Square leg going out. Mid wicket, short fine leg.
I reckon back of the hand slower ball this from Nat Siva.
The Alex Hartley prediction. Does she have the same success as Steve Finn did in the Test series? It's driven down the ground. Brilliantly played by McGrath. Will that be 4? Diving save by Dunkley. And she does extremely well to keep it to 2 as she gets the ball away to Eccleston for the return. Nice fielding from the English outfielders. 2 runs though, and that ends the 8th over with Australia 1 for 58, chasing 170. Lanning 28. Talia McGrath looks in great touch. 23 off 15. Yep. She's become a leader. She was the player of the series for Australia against India, had a really good WBBL, but she's really quiet personality, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, and just the way she goes about her cricket. You know, she just gets on with it. She takes risks. She finds the boundaries. That's why she's found herself at 3 for Australia, and I think it's really well deserved from her. Taking
the squad of Ash Gardner, really, because she was a power play specialist. Matthew Mott, Meg Lanning loved her coming in at 3 in the first 6 overs. Hard to dispute. Talia McGrath.
Why do I recognise that girl on the screen?
Because she's very recognisable. Sarah Glenn bowls to Meg Lanning just over the head of cover. And it'll be a boundary. A chase to no avail. And Sarah Glenn thought Meg Lanning was going to pick out Heather Knight at cover, but it was struck too well. Lanning 32. Australia 62 for 1 at the start of the 9th over.
Well, the captain Heather Knight not too far away from that one. Diving away, one-handed. Fingertips from Heather Knight. The risk taken from Lanning comes off for it.
Run rate required 9.13. Down the track comes Lanning. Doesn't time it as she strokes it away on the offside to Beaumont at point. And they do get a run, though. Meg Lanning moves to 33. 63 for 1 in the 9th over.
I want to guess who that was.
Okay.
On the screen. I think it was Gemma Barnsby.
It's not hyphenated that often. Here comes Glenn. Down the track comes McGrath. Strikes it past mid-off. Wonderful timing again from the Australian all-rounder. It's another boundary. This partnership is getting on top of England. McGrath 27, 1 for 67. And the run rate required falls below 9 and over Alex Hartley.
It does. Quite often in a T20 bowling attack, you pick your fielders to target, your bowlers to target, sorry. And McGrath, she's decided, I know Sarah Glenn's not turning the ball, I'm going to go for her.
McGrath 27 off 16. Short ball pulled away backward of square. That's racing out to the boundary rope. Diving save, no, 4 runs. Gallant effort from Bouchier. But another 4 for McGrath, and Bouchier's clutching a right knee. 1 for 71, McGrath 31 off 17. And she looks in a bit of trouble there, Maya Bouchier, doesn't she? Down on that right.
She does a knee. She's clutching her right knee. Doesn't look good at all.
She looks in a lot of pain. Trainer with her quickly because it was not far from the English dugout. gallant effort to save it one-handed, but went under the pinky. It was a rough landing. Would have been a belly flop in a pool.
As soon as she hit the deck, you could see her face. Well, we see that on the replay. My eyes actually watering, so I'm not going to look at the big screen anymore.
Avert your eyes. 1 for 71. Boucher still getting treatment. And one of the English players on reserve for the night doing some warm-ups.
I think it'll be Maddie Villiers.
Maddie Villiers, yeah.
Unbelievable fielder is Maddie. Really good off-spin bowler.
Maybe he's telling that to me a couple of summers ago out here when she'd great in the field, but didn't seem to get much of an opportunity doing anything else.
No, and I think there's a young off-spinner coming into the squad, Charlie Dean, who's almost leapfrogged Maddie for the Test match and the ODIs. Maddie's played a couple of T20s for England, or a few, sorry.
Incidentally, when play resumes and at the end of the over, we'll check in again with Matt Clinch at the Australian Open with Nick Kyrgios down 2 sets against Daniil Medvedev. But I think doing a bit better in the third set, so we'll cross to Clinchy shortly. Still to come for Australia. There's a heap of batting. Rachel Haynes, Ash Gardner, Grace Harris, Nicola Carey, Jess Jonathan, Alana King, and then Taylor Blemenick and Megan Shute. So you're talking about England batting down to 9 or 10. Australia can boast the same. Let's go right now to Rod Laver Arena. Matt Clinch is there, and Clinchy, Nick Kyrgios is fighting back.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's got the break and has just held his serve. He leads 5-3 in the third set, down 2 sets to 1. But it was the 7th game where he was able to ricochet a volley at the net into the court, and it just electrified the crowd. He was celebrating like it was a soccer goal, and from that point onwards, the crowd is well and truly in this contest. So Medvedev took the first 6-7, then took the second 6-4, but Kyrgios with the break in the third. Meanwhile, Margaret Court Arena, Emma Raducanu in action, 1 set all on serve, trailing 1-2 against Kovanic.
Well done, Clinchy. Great timing as ever. Maya Boucher is off. Maddie Villiers comes on. So let's hope for the best.
They've got 5 out. Oh, there we go. Well spotted.
You're on fire. Alex Hartley is all over it, and Sophia Dunkley now moves in right next to Claire Polisek at square leg. Well flighted by Sarah Glenn, carved away on the offside, but straight to Tammy Beaumont. Excellent fielder inside the circle at point or backward point. She batted well today, Tammy Beaumont. 30 off 24 deliveries, an 82-run opening partnership with Danny Wyatt. Glenn bowls, and down the track comes McGrath, slices it away through cover. Work to do in the outfield, another diving save. Oh, did she keep it in, Catherine Brunt? They've got 2. She's not injured, thankfully, but they're going to check that out. Alex is in and out, up and down from the chair. 1 for 73 at the after the 9th over, assuming it's only 2. McGrath 31, Meg Lanning 33. You all right there, Alex?
She had her dancing shoes on there, Catherine Brunt. She full-length dive, tries to flick it in, notices that the ball's trickling to the boundary.
Oh, I think she did all right there.
I think she's done well. She jumps back in, both feet off the floor. And I'll tell you what, for a veteran, she covers a lot of ground on the boundary there, does Catherine Brunt.
Ungainly is the word I'll use, but effective.
Effective. That reminds me of the time I was helping her mate out, running down to short third. And as she flicked it in, as the ball was rolling back to the boundary, so I picked it up, threw it back in. 1 foot either side of the rope, 4 runs.
Done it all.
England versus India. I got a bit of a telling off that evening from the head coach.
Did you cop it well?
Oh, I just said, come on, I didn't do it on purpose. Charging full pelt to pick up the ball.
Just an innocent mistake, boss. 47-run partnership between McGrath and Lanning. McGrath 31 off 18. Lanning 33 off 19, make it. Lanning 33 off 26. 1 for 73. So Australia needs 97 to win off 67 deliveries. You're with Alex Hartley and Andrew Moore on Grandstand Cricket through ABC Radio, the BBC. Here's Freya Davis coming in, bowling to Lanning, and it's a lovely shot, square on the offside. The ball's going to be picked up about 5 metres in from the ropes by Maddie Villiers. Great return. Tell you what, Amy Jones, I think, tried to flick it at the stumps, and Lanning just making it back to move to 35. 75 for 1 in the 10th over.
Not far from a run out that. If the throw had been slightly better from Villiers, I mean, the sub-fielder, she's been on the bench all evening, so can't really blame her there for warming her arm up.
I've got some news for you, Alex. England needs a wicket to remain your definitive favourite Freya Davis bowls to Lanning. Late cut, and that gets through Tammy Beaumont. Of course it does, because I just gave her that big rap. Down to Eccleston, deep third. Only get a run though, and Lanning moves to 36, 1 for 76 in the 10th over.
Do you know the person to do that? Sophia Eccleston. I think although she's probably normally going to bowl 2 overs at the death, they need to break this partnership. The world's best T20 bowler. She bowled 2 overs for 9 runs, already taken a wicket.
50-run partnership, by the way, now between Lanning and McGrath. Talia has scored 33 of them. And she's on strike now. Davis bowls, medium pacer, and it's cut away towards Heather Knight at cover. No run. A much-needed dot ball for England. That 50 partnership, by the way, 33 deliveries. So they've been going since Alyssa Healy was caught at mid-wicket by Siver off Eccleston for 7. Yeah, I was running through her stats before, like Sarah Glenn, but for a longer period. Astonishing.
Amazing. She's an unbelievable cricketer. Had a break as well, didn't go to Oman when the England girls went there for a training camp. She decided I've played for 6 years, I could do with a bit of a rest.
So Davis trots in, gathers momentum, slower ball, and it's cut away, not fooled. Gee, that was well played by McGrath. Work to do for Villiers from deep point to her right, and they'll come back for 2 more. McGrath forced to get a little hurry along, but she did without any issues. And she's 35 off 21, 1 for 78. She is loving international cricket this summer, Talia McGrath.
She's having an absolute belter. A good back of the hand delivery that from Freya Davis, but McGrath straight onto it, picked it straight away. One of the toughest back of the hand slow balls to pick out of the whole domestic game in England.
Field well spread for Davis as she's in bowling to McGrath. More traditional delivery, whacked away 6. That was a 6 off the bat, and it's into the seats at mid-wicket. Carved it away like a tracer bullet. McGrath 41 off 22. She just nods at a captain. Now I've got this skip. 1 for 84 in the 10th.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a shot. Not a bad delivery at all from Freya Davis. Just back of a length. Talia McGrath deep in her crease, picks it up and lobs it straight over the boundary for 6.
I've got more news for you, Alex.
England aren't favourites anymore.
Australia is now in front in terms of equivalence. 86 to win off 61, so anything can happen. But you were sitting upright, you're almost on the edge of your pew earlier. Now you're slumped over.
Do you know what? You forget how good this Australia side are. You know, they are brutal. Talia McGrath, a couple of years ago, coming in at 3, you'd back yourself to keep her a run of ball.
Yep.
But her game has just developed so much over the recent years. She's 41 off 22 deliveries.
They've only just now found the ball.
That's how far it went.
That was hit hard, out of the ground. I know they're shorter boundaries, square of the wicket here at Adelaide Oval, but that wouldn't have gone more than 10 metres in the air. That just flew off the bat. So, she's 41. Lanning is 36. Freya Davis has got to find a way here. Last ball of her second over. Has none for 17. Long on, deep mid-wicket, deep square leg, deep point. Down the leg side, flicked away to square leg. And there'll be only 1 run as Danny Wyatt does the fielding. That's the good news for England. The bad news is Talia McGrath keeps the strike on 42. Lanning 36. Australia 1 for 85 at the halfway mark. They're 3 runs ahead of where England were none for 82. We better get the All-England combo back. Henry Moran's coming in with Alex Hartley. Let's get the latest from the Australian Open and Nick Kyrgios, Matt Clinch.
Well, Andrew, only Nick Kyrgios would play a drop shot on set point, but he's taken the third set, 4 games to 6, after Daniil Medvedev took the first in a tiebreaker, 7-1, and the second set, 6-4. So we're heading to a 4th set with Nick Kyrgios bringing his best in that third set. An underarm serve, a through-the-legs shot, and a trademark volley feeding off the crowd here at Rod Laver Arena. Henry.
Thank you, Clinchy. Right then, what can England do to turn the tide that is shifted so dramatically in the last few overs? Meg Lanning and Talia McGrath have made the equation 85 to win from 60 deliveries. Alex Hartley, you're not looking quite as comfortable as you were only 10 minutes ago.
Well, I think the dinner we've had has upset my tummy, which isn't helping. Sam was, trying to help a girl out here.
Sophie Eccleston has the ball in hand and will bowl at the cathedral end into McGrath. Plays off the back foot into space. And a horrible tumbling miss actually from the England captain Heather Knight. And that's going to go for 4. And in the end, a rather undignified plunge as well at the deep. To see Tammy Beaumont fall in vain to try and stop that ball reaching the extra cover boundary. So a boundary at the start of the over. 89 on the board, 1 wicket down. The target 170. We're into the 11th.
Not great that from Heather Knight. Normally one of the better fielders for England, but just misjudged her dive.
Eccleston in. It's going to be a stumping, is it? Well, they'll check it. I'm not sure that Amy Jones has retrieved that in time. She's done a pretty good job at demolishing the stumps, but McGrath was in all sorts of bother. Fell in a heap, and then there was the scramble. Could Jones get the ball in time? Would McGrath get back? We'll have a look at the replay.
Doesn't look confident, Amy Jones. Tolly McGrath got back pretty quickly there as well, just diving backwards, back into the crease. But none of the England fielders have celebrated that, so we'll just wait for the third umpire.
But one thing that may be interesting is whether that bat's in the air. That could be something that slightly confuses the vision. Jones was reasonably quick at whipping the bails off. We'll have a look here. McGrath came forward, gets in the tangle, and she's home. Home by a foot or so, so worth checking.
Please.
Umpire Claire Polisak was keen to go upstairs.
What about the other side? Have you got a shot from the other side for me?
Oh, there's no need to see the other side she's in.
Well, they're asking for the other side. I'm not really sure why.
Oh,
is that bat? That bat's not in the air.
No,
just go play that again. I just want to see where the bat is in relation. If you can freeze it when the bails light up for me.
It's on the floor.
It's on the floor. It's one of those slight...
Just play that through so I can see if the bat's on the ground at that stage.
Well, umpire Mike Graham-Smith is being
bails light up
very
there. Play it
cautious
through
to
another
check.
frame or two.
That bat's on the ground.
Yes, I'm ready to make my decision.
Alex, you may make the out signal. The third umpire is not going to do that.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. I'm just hoping.
Well, the third umpire signal on the big screen. I think everyone knows it. All the players are in position for the next delivery. Not out, it says. So the crowd get that confirmation and enjoy that. 1 for 89 the score. McGrath on 46. Lanning on 36. It is a dot ball. In comes Eccleston. That will be a run. Clipped up towards mid-on, and on the looks of it, Maya Bouchier is back on the field. Throw comes in, but sharp running from Meg Lanning gets them back for 2. It's just a little bit sloppy for a moment for England, and Alex is seething to my right.
Just need a wicket, don't they? They've done the right thing bringing Sophie Eccleston into the attack. Said it 3 or 4 times already today. The world's best T20 bowler. 22 years old. Recently just got engaged as well.
Eccleston bowling to McGrath, driving into the offside, but straight to backward point and Beaumont. McGrath on the cusp of a 50, 48 from 27, played a brilliant innings. And Australia needs 79 from 56.
It's nice to see the cap stacking back though for the England women.
Yes.
Heather Knight too. Hats on her head.
Eccleston in, round the wicket. Forward comes McGrath, just dropping that ball into space on the leg side. Boucher will sprint in. Lanning calls for the second run. Throw comes in. Could be trouble if Jones can collect cleanly. She can, but McGrath's quick. And I just wonder, Alex, with 61 runs having been scored from the last 35 balls, as McGrath brings up her 50. First T20 50, coming in just her 4th T20 international. She's played brilliantly. 93 on the board, 1 wicket down. I just wonder if England's fielders might think about coming in a bit, because the 2s are coming so easily, and I know you risk the boundary option, but they're all on the ropes on the leg side. Eccleston in, a little bit quicker. Outside edge, runs down towards the deep third boundary, I think for 4. Davis is rather treading water in pursuit and can't get there. 4 more runs. McGrath is moving through the gears. 77 needed now from 55.
There's been a few of those off the bowling of Sophie Eccleston today. She bowls quick and just the outside edge, races down to the boundary. Freya Davis sliding to try and stop that ball, but makes contact with the rope with her knee as she tries to scoop that back in inside the fielding circle. And we're going to see Sarah Glenn swap ends and come into the attack. A huge over for Sarah Glenn. She bowled 2 overs and gone for 24 runs. So expensive by her means, and Tolly McGrath has really targeted her. decided that she's going to manipulate the field.
I recommend heading to the BBC Sport website. There's a really interesting article written by our chief cricket writer, Stefan Schemmel, all about Sarah Glenn. She's quite a different cricketer.
She's glamorous, is Sarah Glenn.
She is. And in the article, she reveals a big concern was whether she'd be able to pack her nail bar.
I think she's brought it.
I think she has. Glenn then, leg spin bowler from the river end, tosses that ball up, hit away firmly through the offside, through deep cover, and for 4. Lanning strikes that ball so cleanly. 100 up for Australia. 69 now needed from 53, and it's starting to look like a bit of a canter towards the finish line for Australia.
I think for Meg Lanning, I'd bring in square leg, put long off out, and bowl that ball just slightly outside the off stump, just so it's angling in towards off stump. She can sweep with Meg Lanning, but it's not her go-to option. And then with that, if you have a short, fine leg, brings in the top edge for the catch. So
Lanning on to 40. In comes Sarah Glenn, the red of England's T20 outfit, dropped into the offside. Throw will come in at the non-striker's end. Hits! But I think Meg Lanning is home. I'm sure she is. They're not going to check upstairs. I've got a theory, Alex. I've bored you with it before.
No, I like it. I think you need to tell everybody said theory.
I think you get more direct hits in the women's game than you do in the men's game. Because the amount of shies at the stumps and misses during the recent men's Ashes series, every time, I can barely remember a hit. We've had 3 or 4 in this game already.
And I think you could be right, but I don't reckon anyone's got stats on it, unfortunately.
I know.
It's not helping your case.
Well, it sort of is, because if I'm wrong, then no one can disprove it.
Very true. And I said you're right, so basically you're right.
Well, thanks.
Because I'm never wrong, and we all know that.
You've been wrong twice in your life,
Exactly.
which you famously told me. Just you haven't told me what. Tossed up, hit away, through the offside for 4. McGrath plays beautifully. Once again, clearing that front leg, creating room, and piercing the infield. 106 on the board, 1 wicket down.
It's all about trying to get McGrath off strike now. Can Sarah Glenn change the angle of her deliveries? Just bowl at McGrath's pad, let her hit into the leg side. Just bowl at Meg Lanning. How often? I mean, I don't think we've ever said that. Can you bowl at Meg Lanning rather than somebody else?
Conversation between Knight and Glenn. Fielders in the deep at long off, long on, deep mid-wicket and deep backward square leg. All up inside the circle in the offside as Sarah Glenn is in. It's dropped short, it's in the air, finds the gap again through that offside. It's going to bring 4 more. Glenn looks to the ground in frustration. And suddenly the required rate stands at just 7.2. McGrath into the 60s. 110 for 1.
It's hard to watch this. Poor Sarah Glenn. She's bowled 2.4 overs, gone for 37. She hasn't changed things up. She's not played that much T20 cricket for England. She's played enough. But I think she needs to change the angle of her delivery here.
Glenn in over the wicket. There's the appeal for LBW. No, says umpire Polisak. And it's easy to see because you can see that ponytail swinging when she's shaking that head saying no. England are reviewing the decision. And McGrath looked for the big heave-ho into the leg side. And England are reasonably confident, or they're desperate, one of the two.
Well, she's gone for the fuller delivery there, Sarah Glenn. She's been bowling into the pitch that hasn't helped.
The original decision was not
Gone
out.
full and straight
Not
there.
the best front on angle, please. It's a fair delivery.
So we know it's a fair delivery. We can hear that from Mike Graham-Smith. Here's the first front-on view. It pitches probably in line with... Well, it's a chance here.
Appears to miss the bat. Can I check
You're
that
shaking
with
your
Ultimate,
head.
please?
Well, she's not a massive turner of the ball, so it's going to carry on with the angle, and I think that's missing leg stump.
Ultra Edge will tell us that it is clean all the way through. Hits the back pad as she is on one knee. I sense is going to be umpire's call for leg stump, probably. You're
satisfied there's no bat involved.
looking
Can we go
nervy
on to
next to me,
ball
Alex.
tracking, please? The original decision
Is there any
is not
surprise?
out.
ball tracking will tell us the answers that we're looking for. And impact is umpire's call, and
Not
it'll
out.
be
Pitching in line.
Wicket's umpire's call as well. Had it been
on
given,
Impact and wickets. Claire, I'll get you on screen. Can we go back to the bowler's end umpire? Claire, I'll get you to stick with your original decision. You're on screen now.
so umpire's call the way of Australia. These things tend to balance their way across a series. On this occasion, goes with Australia. McGrath survives on 62. 60 needed from 49. As Glenn drops it short, hit through the offside. There is protection at deep cover now. And a single will be taken. Two taken, actually. They've turned swiftly. And at the end of the 12th over, it's 58 from 48. McGrath and Lanning are seeing Australia into a winning position here. Alex, one final thought from you, and then Kristen Beams will join us.
Well, they need wickets to England, and I think they've got to turn to their best bowlers. The experience of Catherine Brunt, just give her a go. They need to get wickets, and that's the way you need to go. Catherine Brunt, Sophie Eccleston to break this partnership.
Thank you very much, Alex Hartley, World Cup winner with England in 2017. It's 112 on the board for Australia. 1 wicket down, 12 overs gone, Kristen. It's swinging Australia's way.
Yeah, everything seems to be falling Australia's way at the moment. Even the outside edges are running away to the boundary. And T20 is a lot about momentum. And when you've got it, can you carry on and hold on to it? And Australia have been able to do that in this last little period. And for England, they've just got to find a way to stem the flow of taking a wicket. So it's no surprise that they've turned to Catherine Brunt.
So Brunt has 2 overs left. England desperately hoping she can find a wicket. We've got fielders in the deep, but deep wide third. Deep backward square leg and long on a deep mid wicket. In comes Brunt, dropping it a bit short, cut away, but that fielder there to protect for that shot that Lanning plays so well. Just 1 run taken as Freya Davis runs round from that deep third position. 57 needed from 47.
It just feels like Meg Lanning's thinking, I'll just get up the other end. I'll let Talia McGrath go about her business. I think she'll continue to try and take the game on, and I'm sure that Meg will be saying to her, you keep doing what you're doing. Meg will try and hold this innings together. So if they lose a wicket, so be it. But if they can get this run rate down into the 6s, they should cruise to victory.
Brunt with the ball in hand, tosses it from one to the other. Field shifts slightly, we've now got a deep cover. Backward square leg. As McGrath on strike. Sees a slower ball which is dropped into the onside. 1 run taken. And cries of keeper, they don't want that 2nd run taken, and indeed, good throw comes in and prevents it. 56 needed from 46.
It's a hard one, but I'd really like to see a mid-wicket in place for Catherine Brunt. I think when you're the best wicket-taking option within the side, to allow the easy single, even if they take away the short fine and put that into mid-wicket, I think you've got to roll the dice a little bit to try and take a wicket here.
In comes Brunt. It's a horrible full toss, which Jones does really well to take down the leg side. It's, well, is it a wide, is it a no ball? Well, it's signalled wide by umpire Bruce Oxenford at the far end. It was one of those that came out all wrong from Catherine Brunt. I'm presuming she was trying a change-up, was about the back of the hand, that just went wrong. Either way.
That's how every spinner feels, Henry. I reckon I've bowled a few of them in my time.
No, Kristen, not that I've ever seen. Here comes Brunt, keeper standing up to get a full toss, which is slapped out towards mid-off, and it's one of the least deserved dot balls you're going to likely to see at any point. 55 needed from 45, 3 balls left of the over. Talia McGrath, I should say, is the 3rd Australian woman after Lisa Sthalekar and Elise Perry to take 3 wickets and make 50 runs in a T20 international, which is pretty good going.
Joining good company there.
Here comes Mark Burt's view on social media, hashtag BBC Cricket, saying England's score looking well below par, no pressure from the bowlers, poor fielding and some very generous umpiring. Australia should win this with 3 overs to spare. Here comes Brunt then, into bowl to Lanning, pushes off the back foot, and another rather loose bit of fielding, this time from Beaumont at backward point, will allow the Aussie pair through for a single. 116 on the board, 1 wicket down.
Well, I thought it was just the Australian fans that were hitting us hard with the feedback, but with English feedback there as well.
There's one thing that tends to be a universal truth, Kristen. It's that when sports fans get in touch, it tends to be when they're unhappy rather than happy. 116 on the board, 54 needed from 44. Brunt bowls, it's full, driven away for 4 runs. Glorious shot from Talia McGrath through the offside. She has played magnificently well.
That's an unbelievably good shot, and I get Catherine Brunt's frustration there. I think as a bowler, when you get hit between mid-off and cover, it's a gap you don't really want to get hit through. You prefer to have your fielders tighter there because that's where your best ball should go. If she's hitting the right lines and lengths, that ball should go to somebody's hand. So I understand the frustration there.
Brunt is somebody that shows her emotions on the field, and she's running in now, right arm over, short, paddle down towards backward square leg, and Sophia Dunkley. Australia require 49 to win from 42. It says a lot about where the women's game has come in recent times. Kristen, end of the over, I should say, 13 gone. I remember Mark Robinson, when he took over as England head coach in 2016, saying, we were always comfortable if it's a runner ball. We always back ourselves to defend it. Nowadays, 7, 8, 9 and over, you're never comfortable. It's just that the landscape has shifted entirely.
Completely, and that's what I love about it. I think now even 9 and over would be considered in hand, and I think it's got a lot to do with the power, and I think the amount of cricket that the girls are playing now is the expectations are higher, and no longer is it being content with mediocre scores, and I think we're seeing everything in extremes now in the women's game, and that's the most entertaining part. We want to see players taking it on. We want to see players bowling fast, big turning spinners.
Siver in, looking to offer some control. It won't come there. Flick round the corner from McGrath and down towards the boundary for 4. Beats the fielder at short fine leg. And Tali McGrath's playing a different game at the moment. She's got 74 from 37. And a steely look back past Meg Lanning tells us that she is not in the mood to let up anytime soon. 45 needed from 41.
This is a special innings. The field is set for Nat Siver to attack the stumps and not be outside of the off stump, but McGrath's just too good, finds a gap.
McGrath waits, happy to work the ball up towards wide long on. 2 runs will be taken. Brunt hurls it in under the floodlights. And getting down towards a runner ball for Australia. 43 needed from 40 now.
And good awareness from Meg Lanning. She's making sure that she's backing up, taking off and getting back for 2 every time. Tali McGrath's probably looking for a bit of a spell herself, but while she's going and going well, just keeping her in strike.
100 partnership up from 58 balls.
Oh, yes, Nat.
Worked up the ground for a single. Jones behind the stumps is keen to offer encouragement to Nat Siver. They used to be housemates along with Catherine Brunt, Fran Wilson, all lived in a house together in Loughborough.
That's the it happens a lot in the women's game with the not so much money in the game. Is you find out that a lot of players end up being housemates, and I'm sure there's some fun to be had in that.
Catherine Brunt was, I think, landlord. On the pads, half an appeal from Jones, but I'm not sure that was either in line or necessarily directly onto the pads. They'll run through for, well, leg by, says umpire Polisak, so possibly it was just drifting down that leg side. 41 needed from 38.
Gee, I'm not sure how I'd feel if I didn't pay my rent on time and I had to speak to Catherine Brunt about it.
I agree. She's one of those funny cricketers who off the field is completely different to on the field. Here comes Siver on the pads, and there's a rather woody noise. In half a moment, you expect the bails to light up, but I think it's probably a sort of scratching noise from Amy Jones' boot, possibly. Either way, wide is signalled. 39 needed from 38. Brunt is incredibly vocal, passionate on the field. A lot of shouting, a lot of gesticulating. She's quiet as can be when you speak to her in interviews. Here comes Siver down the leg side again. It'll be signalled wide, and that will see the equation at a runner ball. 38 needed from 38.
They don't need this, England. I'm trying to get a wicket, and that's the tough thing when you're under attack and you've got your field set. Just it's a heavy leg side field. She knows that she can't get too full or too wide outside of the off stump, and just erring.
Lanning on strike is deep in the crease, and Amy Jones shouts enthusiastically for an LBW, but I don't think is there. And it is signalled as runs, I believe, so as a single is taken, just wait for confirmation. It is, so 37 needed from 37. England need, if not a miracle, then something not far from it.
Yeah, they need a special spell of bowling. Somebody needs to be able to come on and do what Talia McGrath did and take 3 quick wickets.
Siver in, bowling to McGrath, who's happy just to pick up the single down the ground. That's all that is required for Australia now. The floodlight shining at Adelaide Oval. 14 overs gone in this run chase. 36 needed at a run a ball. Lanning's got 44, but it's been McGrath who will now be eyeing up 3 figures.
Possible. And if Meg Lanning continues to give her the strike, there's every chance that she could get to that figure. And for England now, there's no 2 ways to go about it. They have to roll the dice. They have to have, particularly if Meg Lanning gets on strike, which is hard. We're looking down at Meg's on 44 off 35 balls, but she's the one they need to get on strike for the majority of these balls. And I think they've got to bring a fielder in. They've got to try and shift something. They've got to look at a different fielding position. If it's going to be as easy as just knocking the ball into gaps for ones, it's going to be all done and dusted very quickly here.
Well, there's certainly been a number of occasions in this innings where easy 2s have been claimed as that big vacant space on the leg side. Right then, Freya Davis back for her 3rd over. Got the treatment in her 2nd. She's bowling to McGrath, who gives herself some room, lofts the ball away over the offside, but just out of the reach of Heather Knight. 1 run taken. It was, for a moment, one of those you're waiting for it to keep on travelling out over the boundary, and it just slowed up, almost dropping into the hands of extra cover. But a single is taken, 35 needed from 35.
And I think to your point, Henry, this is where I'd like to see the boundary riders actually come in, maybe 10 metres, 5-10 metres off the boundary, just to make sure it's only a single if it goes out there.
Davis in,
nice
and Lanning just happy to clip the ball up towards long on for 1. So a single is taken once again. All very comfortable at the moment.
Yeah, looking too easy at the moment, especially she's looking to bowl nice and full, and her field is set for that, but it's just going to be so easy to now just take singles, and they can rely on the occasional bad ball to keep this run rate in check.
McGrath on 79, waits for Freya Davis, running in, right arm over.
Nice, Fred.
Easy clip down the ground for 1 more. And at the moment, it is looking like a walk through the Botanic Gardens of Adelaide.
Which are beautiful.
Lovely, but England need to start laying a few booby traps.
Yeah, they need a bit of an X factor now. King was that ability with the big turning leg spin. They just need something, England.
Davis into bowl to Lanning, who lofts the ball over the offside. That's a good looking shot. It's going to hop and skip its way towards the boundary for 4. It's a shot she plays beautifully, Meg Lanning. Freya Davis is not the first bowler to turn looking over her left shoulder and see that ball sail away. And 4 runs to take Australia a step closer.
That's her bread and butter, Meg Lanning, and prefer to see the long on come up and long off go back. She doesn't hit a lot of balls through mid-on. She prefer to go over the offside.
Davis tosses it very wide. 2 wide, says umpire Polisak. Umpire Oxford, I should say, at the far end. And Lanning on the cusp of a 50. Australia now need 28 from 32.
Well, that's the pressure when you get hit for a boundary, the batters are taking you on, you're looking at bowling your variations, but you're doing so under immense pressure and just missing that time around.
Required rate stands at just 5.25. Played into the ground, and a good stop from Tammy Beaumont at backward point. Would have been 4 more had she not reached out her left hand and stopped it. 143 for 1. Lanning gets to 50, fine 50 as well. Her 14th T20 International 50 coming in her 114th game. Every element of this innings has just been elite.
Atta girl, Meg. It's a really good innings. You step up to fill the void left by Beth Mooney, and that's what captains do. They come in and they lead, and that's a good example of leadership by Meg Lanning.
McGrath has been the enforcer. She's got 80 from 42 and waits to face Freya Davis. Final ball of the over. Well, I say that. Filthy wide delivery. And it'll be 26 needed from 31.
Oh dear. Big miss, that one. I'm actually surprised that they went with her in this lineup. I thought they might have looked at Tash Farrant with the left armour coming into the stumps a lot more. I think she just offers just something different, and at the moment England could really do with something that's a little bit different.
Davis in. That's a bit straighter, but easily, happily clipped up towards long on for a single. Australia not far away now. 25 needed from 30 balls. They're 145 for 1. 15 overs gone. Let's get the latest in the Australian Open in a moment. After me, Andrew Moore will join us, but let's go over to Matt Clinch.
Henry, the second seed, Daniil Medvedev, has a couple of break points here against Nick Kyrgios. He currently leads 2-1 in the fourth set. It's Medvedev leading 2-3. Kyrgios had a chance to break in the first game of the fourth set, but couldn't capitalise. Meanwhile, Margaret Court Arena, the 2021 US Open, Emma Raducanu is out, beaten by Danica Konfovic, 6-4, 4-6, 6-3.
I'll tell you what, Clinchy, this has become very easy for Australia. 1 for 145, 25 to win off 30 balls, and Sophie Eccleston's coming back into the attack. 3 overs, 1 for 21. But you get the sense now, too little, too late, Kristen Beams, with Meg Lanning pushing it around, and Talia McGrath yet to be dismissed in the T20 International. Can she go tonk and get 100?
I hope so. I think we all want to see that. I think Eccleston coming into the attack, I think that's just pulling the trigger a little bit too late. I think she needed to bowl earlier than this.
She's in flat delivery, and it's cut away by McGrath, and there is, of recent times, a rare dot ball. No run. Maddie Villiers, the sub-fielder, doing the fielding, with Maya Boucher off the field with that knee injury back in the 9th over. I hope she's okay. Eccleston, left arm figure spinner, bowls down the leg side, easily tucked away by McGrath down to deep backward square. Gets a single to Danny White. So McGrath, 82 off 45 deliveries. Beamsy, do you know how many people have got her out in a one-day T20 International so far?
Got no idea.
No one.
Well, that's not a surprise based on what we've seen, is it?
It's only a fourth game. 86 runs not dismissed prior to this. Another 82 here. Eccleston bowls, well flighted. Lanning cuts away. Another bit of poor fielding from England. That's been a real feature. And it goes underneath the diving cover. Villiers for 4. Meg Lanning, 54 off 39. And that would be her 6th boundary. Australia 1 for 150 in the 16th over.
Anything outside of off stump is too wide to Meg Lanning, and just too much width there from Eccleston. Length was good, line not where it needs to be.
She bowl again to Lanning. 20 to win off 27 deliveries. There's a long on, deep mid-wicket, deep square leg, long off. Had a quicker delivery from Eccleston, and it's defended square on the offside. There's no run as Glenn picks up, Freya Davis picks up. Score remains 1 for 150 in the 16th over. After 16 overs, England was 1 for 136. Eccleston, only 2 deliveries left of her night. Passed umpire Polisak, well flighted and wide down the leg side, and there's at least one every over these days. Taken well by Amy Jones, but another run to Australia, 19 to win. 1 for 151.
Again, it's the pressure. They're willing to take them on. Boundaries are flowing. You know you can't miss as a bowler, and it's just that pressure that means you just err a little bit. And even though Eccleston's been pretty good tonight, she's under pressure in this final over. 7
wides now for England. As Eccleston bowls to Lanning, angled on leg stump, and she just rolled the wrist down to deep backward square. Has one, in comes White. Lanning back for the second, throwing its way. It needed to be a great return on the full, and in the end it was on the bounce. So they get back for a second run. And Lanning 56, 1 for 153, the target 170, and that means Australia requires just 17 runs off the next 25 balls.
That's a good piece of running by Meg Lanning. Super fit. Throw just need to be a little bit tighter there. But they haven't left too many out there, Australia. They've run well between the wickets, these two.
Last ball of the over is defended away by Lanning, square on the offside. Villiers picks up, dot ball to win. 1 for 153, 8 runs off the over, and Sophie Eccleston finishes 4 overs, 1 for 29. Meg Lanning 56, Talia McGrath 82, 17 to win off 4 overs. Kristen Beams makes way for Alex Hartley. We had to drag her in for this last bit.
I nearly said, can I refuse to go back on air?
Oh, no, you're...
But no, you know, I'm impartial.
Oh, now at Newcastle. Wow. Who would be a definitive favourite at this point, Alex?
England.
Who's going to be the X Factor then? Need to be triple X Factor, I think, from here.
Well, England are having to turn to captain Heather Knight to bowl her off spin because they went into this attack with 5 bowlers. But Sarah Glenn, 3 overs, none for 39, has gone at 13s. Nat Siver, none for 31, has gone at over 10s. So they're going to have to try the golden arm that is Heather Knight. And she has got a golden arm. She always picks up wickets, does Heather Knight.
20 wickets at 25, best of 3 for 9 against India, and an economy rate of just 5.71. Bowled some really useful spells in the WBBL for Sydney Thunder. She bowls here to McGrath, who's cut away, can't get a run, straight to point. Dot ball, 1 for 153. She needs more than a golden arm. She needs to actually borrow Scotty Boland's golden arm, I think. She needs a 6 for 7 type spell. She's in on the sweep, goes McGrath into open space as the ball racing across the outfield for another 4. Talia McGrath to 86. She needs 14 for 100. Australia needs 13 to win. 1 for 157.
What a cricketer Talia McGrath is. She's making it look so easy. And Meg Lanning, one of the best batters in the world, is just giving her getting off strike, letting Talia McGrath have it.
She's now scored 170 runs without being dismissed. Heather Knight around the wicket, well flighted on the sweep. McGrath, oh gee, that was a slovenly effort by Sarah Glenn at short fine leg.
Poor delivery.
It was a bad ball as well. It's another boundary. Talia McGrath to 90. We're on McGrath century watch. 90 off 48. She needs 10. Australia needs 9. 1 for 161. 3 balls to come in this, the 17th over.
You don't want to be Meg Lanning at this stage. I think you'd just be blocking it out. There's enough balls left for Talia McGrath here to get her 100. Nervous 90s, T-Mac?
Let's find out. Heather Knight bowls, and she's on the drive, beats a diving Heather Knight for a run down the ground. So she'll move to 91. And Australia, 2 balls left in the 17th over. Only need 8 to win, 162 for 1. Does Meg Lanning just dead bat? Dead bat? Or shoulder arms outside the off stump?
2 balls left. Meg Lanning, do the right thing. Couple of blocks.
She'll go for runs if she can. Well flighted, carved away for 4. Oh no! The 100 goes bye-byes. 4 for Meg Lanning. She moves to 60. Mind you, I guess when you're facing pies like that, you put some sauce on it. And she whacked it away. Lanning 60 to take her over 3,000 career runs in T20 internationals. 1 for 166, 4 to win. And the way Heather Knight's bowling here, this could end this next delivery. Over the wicket to Lanning. Crowd acknowledging 300. It is a looping donkey drop, full toss. It's swept away at 4. It's all over. Australia wins by 9 wickets with 18 balls to spare. Meg Lanning finishes on 60. They're just waiting for confirmation that that's enough runs to head off the field. We think so, and now the players will shake hands. Well, that is an absolute carve-up. This Australian team just reminding everyone why they are the world champions. As England, I heard some pundits say they were definitive favourites halfway through after scoring 4 for 169. But Australia's made meat of that, Alex. It's been quite stunning.
That was an unbelievable run chase from Australia. I thought it would be won or lost in the power play, and we were pretty even Stevens after the power play. England just in front. And once the field spread, normally the run rate slows down, but Australia, unbelievable. They're well-deserved winners of that first T20. I thought that would be England's at the halfway stage. Started to feel sorry for the England bowlers at one stage, especially Sarah Glenn. Just couldn't get things right. Captain Heather Knight brings herself on. Bowls an over, 1 for 17. Things just haven't gone their way at all for England. They had a good start, a good first innings, but Australia, as you say, showing why they are world champions, showing why they are the best team in the world. Ruthless from Australia, and if there's one way you want to start an Ashes series, that's the way you want to do it from Australia.
I'm still just shaking my head, Alex. England scored 169, good total, and Australia was 1 for 26 in the 4th over.
And Australia
They've lost
made
after 17 overs.
Easy. Australia made it look easy. It was good wicket out there, very good wicket. Not much on offer for the bowlers, but England just didn't bowl well enough this evening. And what I really liked against that, with that Australia chase, was when Sophie Eccleston came on, who's gone at sevens, which is rare for Eccleston. She's normally much more economical. She was the best bowler for England this evening, but McGrath just knocking her into the leg side, running twos, then hitting the bad ball for 4. One of the best run chases I've seen. That those bowling figures are a sorry sight for England, and unfortunately for England, I mean, not the start they would have wanted whatsoever. As we see the crowd, they disappear. Heads held high. Australia have got off to an absolute flyer in this Ashes series, showing why they are world champions in this format.
We'll go through the card. We'll have Aaron Bryans downstairs on the field. England sent into bat by Meg Lanning, and they scored 4 for 169 after an 82-run opening partnership. Tammy Beaumont was caught and bowled Alana King for 30. Nat Siver bowled Talia McGrath for 32 of 23. So not only has Talia McGrath scored 91 not out, she claimed 3 for 26 and picked up those 2 really quick wickets of Nat Siver and Danny White in the same over. Maybe that turned the tide from the start. Whoever's judging player of the match has the world's easiest task. Nat Siver 32. Danny White bowled McGrath, a Yorker, 70 or 54 balls, 6 fours and 3 sixes. Amy Jones 4 went to McGrath as well. Heather Knight and Sophia Dunkley both finished 10 not out, 4 for 169. Wicket takers for Australia: McGrath 4 overs, 3 for 26. Alana King on debut, 4 overs, 1 for 28. Needing 170 to win, Alyssa Healy was out in the 4th over, caught by Nat Siver at mid-wicket off Sophie Eccleston for 7, 1 for 26. Then Maya Bouchier suffered a knee injury and went off the field in the 9th over. Talia McGrath 50 of 28. Meg Lanning 50 off 38. Lanning hits the winning runs, finishing 64 not out of 44 deliveries with 8 fours. Talia McGrath 91 not out, 49 balls, 13 fours, 1 6. 8 extras from the leg by and 7 wides. Australia winning after 17 overs before an official crowd of 1,930, 1 for 170. For England, block your ears. If you're in the UK, Catherine Brunt 3 overs for 24. Sophie Eccleston 4 overs, 1 for 29. Nat Siver didn't find it at all, 3 overs for 31. Freya Davis 3 overs for 29. Sarah Glenn 3 overs for 39. And Heather Knight, what was that at the end? 1 over, none for 17.
Yeah, Jibs, I am with Danny, 70 from 54 tonight, but you can hear the frustration as you made your way over that. It felt like England were in such a good position with 269 on the board, and unfortunately it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I was really confident at half-time that we'd got enough. But yeah, hats off to the way Talia and Meg batted. They showed their class, and just unfortunate we just couldn't get that breakthrough wicket, unfortunately. And on this wicket and T20, you've got to take wickets up front and pile on that pressure. But lots of positives to take from the first game. And yeah, we're going to have to turn it around and come back on Saturday, I think the next game is.
In terms of the Saturday game, what did you actually learn from tonight that you feel like you can apply to that next game and get the win?
Yeah, well, we got nearly 170, which wasn't enough, so maybe we need to get even more next game. It's a really nice wicket, so yeah, just make the most of it. Target our bowls, which we've done again today, and yeah, maybe bowl a little bit straight. I think maybe offered a bit too much width, so yeah, we live and learn, and we go again on Saturday.
As deflating as the result tonight is, there was obviously a lot of talk heading in about how awkward the build-up was, the fact that it was quite disjointed heading into this game. Do you feel like you've answered those critics now and I guess got some momentum back into this team after that first innings?
Yeah, I mean, the prep's not been ideal, but there's nothing we can do about that. Life's not easy at the minute with COVID around, but yeah, I thought we showed our class, what we played. Well, we batted really well, just couldn't back it up with the ball, unfortunately, but hats off to the Aussies. They're a great team and they showed why they're number one today.
Just before we let you go, Danny, how's Maya Bouchier? Have you heard anything about her knee?
Yeah, she's fine. She said it's a little bit bruised, so she'll be fine for the next game.
Great result. Danny, unfortunately not the result that you were after tonight. Great for Maya. We'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, see you Saturday. Thank you.